Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter, and you're listening to the Third Fleet podcast. If you thought we were going to take a week off, I'm happy to say that you were wrong. Last week we had a special guest, but today it's back to myself and Rurikhan, and as always, we have a fun grab bag of items to discuss about. Rurikhan, how you doing, my man?
I've been having a pretty tough week, as we were talking about just before the podcast. I've been having migraines pretty much every single morning. It's been just like fantastic. It's top notch. On top of it, getting used to the schedule of my kids not going to school, but at the same time having to go to school like digitally, it's really bad. Like try
Oh,
to get
wow.
a 5-year-old, well, 6-year-old now, try to get a 6-year-old to like sit down in one place in your house in front of a tablet while the teachers are trying to teach him stuff. Like it just doesn't work at all. Like it's so that's been a struggle. And then on top of it, so I wanted to buy like a new monitor for my house
Mm.
so that I would have like a monitor what I would be able to like, play PS5 and just play games and be able to still
No,
use it
don't
from
do
my
it yet.
laptop.
The,
What do you mean?
the HDMI 2.1 monitors aren't out yet. They're
Yeah,
coming.
but it's like I just need a monitor like on a short-term thing so that I can be around the
Okay.
house more, right?
Mm.
I can't even get a monitor. Like that's how bad things are. Cause like you go to a store
Wow.
and like the only stuff they have there is just like complete crap monitors that I wouldn't be able to use. And then the
No
one
Amazon?
monitors, yeah, there's Amazon, but it's like we don't have Prime over here, so it would still take time for it to like
Ah,
come over and whatnot, and it still has to come from Spain. So it's like I'm just thinking about I just need a monitor, and it's like there's a bunch of stores around me. There's tons of stores. I go to every store. I find the good deals, the best deals for the monitors that I want, and there's nothing. And then I'm just like, okay,
oh
fine.
no.
I need to get a printer for my kid so that I can like so that I can print stuff from his school. I don't want to get a $100 printer. I want to get one of those trashy like $50
Yeah,
printers.
$20
Yeah,
inkjet thingies. Yeah.
I mean the cheapest thing I can find is like $40. Can't buy
Oh,
it completely sold out. $50. Can't buy it completely sold out. $60. Can't buy it completely sold out. I'm like, dude, what is going on? I can't buy a monitor. I can't buy a printer. I'm just like, this is insane. This is like everything
oh
that
my
I'm looking
gosh.
for just doesn't exist anymore.
You
Like, I
need
don't
you
know
need to
what's
put in a request to Rondina. She'll go find you one.
Yeah, Rondine, not Rondina.
Oh, it's Rondine.
Yeah, Rondine ends with an E,
Why
I
do I keep
think.
calling her Rondina?
I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
Rondina. Na,
Did
na,
you
na,
did you see the
na,
clip of
na.
her that they released the other day on Twitter last night?
No, I don't follow the
Wait, you haven't
Twitter
seen it?
clips. No, I haven't. I don't follow the Twitter
Ah,
clips as much. Like
because I was going to ask you.
I like long
She has an
format video.
accent.
She has a what?
She's got an accent, and I want to know if it's Portuguese or not.
I doubt it, but do you have a
I
link
want. I
to
want.
that?
I need to. I need.
Because like I can listen to it live.
Yes, let's I really wanted to ask you. This was like literally on my checklist of things. Like I'm going to ask her if this is Portuguese or not because I don't know English accents. I'm
Mm,
American. I barely know English, so
I mean,
uh,
the
I'm from
Portuguese
Cleveland,
accent is
Ohio. Okay, guys. So that for everybody who's American, they're like, okay, I get it. It's like, okay, he's from Cleveland. It's his
the
English is a little
Portuguese
shaky.
accent is not like super. It's not like super easily identifiable. Basically, I'm
Here we
actually.
go. I got it for you.
Okay. Let's see.
Hopefully, I won't cough too much today. The cough persists, everybody. It won't go away. It's probably withdrawal. I need Monster Hunter Rise to come out, and once it comes out, the cough will just resolve itself.
He sounds British.
British?
Yeah. I mean, at
So
least
much.
the few things I've heard her say so far sounded British.
All aboard.
Oh, that was it. It's just the all aboard, right? Yeah, that definitely sounds British to me. Does not sound Portuguese.
Okay. The dream is gone, guys.
I'm so sorry.
We wanted the Portuguese waifu, but we don't know where
Oh,
she's
dude,
from. Rondine.
dude, you know what happened earlier was it this week? Or was it last week? I'm kind of lost. No, I think it was last week. Good God, I'm so lost. I forgot when it exactly when it happened. It happened on the 5th. Yeah, it was last week. Jesus. Dude, it was the announcement of the next expansion for Final Fantasy 14. Remember how we were talking about
Oh,
the games
oh.
that I was hyped about? It's coming in fall 2021. It was slightly delayed by COVID-19, and
Oh,
it
good.
just looks amazing. And you want to know what
Can
the
you ma
best surprise was for me?
What?
The job that I main in Final Fantasy
Yeah.
14 is the poster boy for the expansion. Usually they choose a job
Oh,
to like star the
highlighted.
expansion, right? And it's like Paladin was
What
the one that
job?
they chose.
Paladin. Okay.
Paladin, yeah. It's the sword and shield guy, basically. It's the only class that has a shield at this point, pretty
Yeah.
much.
If it
So
doesn't have a shield, Rurikhan's not interested.
exactly. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, that was an awesome reveal. And like, I don't know what it is about the team behind 14, like not just like Square Enix as a whole, right? I'm talking
Yeah,
specifically about Creative
specifically.
Business Unit 3 or whatever they're called. Like they just seem to be so in tune with what their audience kind of wants. That like everybody's just like super hyped. I don't think I've heard a single negative thing about the event or any, even despite the fact there are some story bits that some people are not super happy about. You know, like the excitement for the expansion just like trumps all that. So I'm super
Nice.
pumped. And they're doing a PlayStation 5 finally, like a PlayStation 5 thing where they're going to bring in better visuals and 4K and all of that stuff. Because right
Oh,
now
so an
people on
enhanced version.
PlayStation, yeah, right now people on PlayStation are still just like playing the PS4 version essentially, but it just runs
So when
faster because it's got better hardware.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if they can get it out before the PS5 officially launches to consumers. Oh my god, we had an issue here in Japan. I don't know if you saw my tweets on this one where
Oh, dude,
you can't get it, right?
what do you mean? I
Yeah, the
can,
Yodobashi. So the thing is, you can't buy the damn thing in Japan because they
yeah.
just haven't given the country any stock. We literally have, I think it's 290,000 units for lifetime that they've given Japan, which is nothing since launch. So Yodobashi Camera is like the number one electronics store here, right? So when you buy electronics or game stuff, it's generally from there. So they just decide to randomly say, "Oh, we got some PS5s in stock," and they don't announce it, and then it just creates mayhem at the store, which is wonderful for a pandemic, right? So
It's like
apparently, people are.
I'm
Oh,
sorry. I just wanted to say like I know that I'm smiling because it's like when you think about this, it's a little bit of a funny situation, but in reality, I heard like people got hurt and stuff. Like
yeah. So it's so stupid because Sony has created such a demand and shortage of the system here because of the amount of the lack of units that they've given that the resellers are going crazy. So like I would assume that 80% of every unit is going to a reseller, be it a foreigner or a Japanese reseller because they exist in all over the world. So, I mean, our top selling PS5 game here, I think is like 30,000 copies. And that's versus 300,000 units. So,
and it's
it
Demon
just
Souls,
shows you
right?
no one's buying. No, I think it was actually I want to say it was Spider-Man maybe?
Spider-Man outsold Demon Souls in Japan?
I think. I don't know. The thing is it sells so bad that nothing is on the top 30 list, so I don't know the actual sales. But the problem is so they just people are figuring out okay, they're generally getting their stock Saturday morning. So people are starting to line up in front of the store on Saturday morning, which is stupid in a pandemic, without even knowing if they're getting units. And then they just say, "We got some units." And what happened was pretty much a massive bum charge to the register. It was absolute mayhem. There was hundreds of people on the floor, everyone pushing and it looked like a concert, right? Like everyone mashed in there. People
Jesus.
pushing and shoving and yelling.
A mosh pit.
Apparently some of the registers were broken, like they pushed the people up against the register and they knocked over some stuff. The police had to come in, break up some of the fights, and then they said, "That's it, you're not selling it." So the police had to stop all the PS5 sales that they had for the day. This is downtown Tokyo. Like this doesn't happen here. And now Yodobashi is adopting this really hardcore thing saying that you can't buy it unless you have our premium credit card, which like immediately knocks out 95% of everybody in the country. And I can't even get it because Japan has this weird thing where they like to not give credit cards to foreigners, no matter how long you've lived here. So like I can't. There's no way I'm going to get a PS5 anytime soon because that's the only retailer that's going to be selling it, and I can't get a credit card with them. So I don't
The
know.
shortage situation is really getting out of hand. Like I also have a bunch of friends now that, they didn't want it to get it like at the at the very beginning because there was just like so much demand that they were just
Yeah.
like, okay, it's fine, we'll just get it later. It's like, well, now it's later, they still can't get it, you can't find it
Yeah.
anywhere, it's
How's the
completely
situation
gone.
with Xbox? Because I mean, obviously Xbox here, no one there's no market for it still, so
Well,
it's
that's the
it's never
thing.
talked about.
In Portugal, there's also very little market for Xbox.
Same
It's
thing.
like most
I
people
s-
pretty much want PlayStation and Switch. Xbox
yeah.
is not a huge market in Portugal.
But man, Switch, they got the big signs. We got every single color of Switch in stock, and they are
Yeah.
selling. Put it this way, they're selling. I think right now, if you combine Switch and Switch Lite, they're selling about 300,000 units a week in Japan. A week. It's ridiculous. Like it's just
I was actually
and
surprised
Xbox.
because. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and Xbox really hasn't sold much.
it's
I think they
it's
sold
like
like 25,000 units. And I told Yuna, I was like, your Xbox Series S, that's only one of 8,500 units in all this country. And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's a unicorn.
it's
It's a really nice unicorn.
and it's one of those things like a lot of times people accuse me of like being a Sony pony or whatever, because
Sony buddy.
mostly I just play PlayStation and Switch. It's mostly what I
Yeah,
tend to play stuff on. But the main reasoning behind that is because I have friends that are also on PlayStation, so it just makes it easier to
exactly. Yeah, your
connect with
game.
them. So,
Hmm.
but the thing is, for me, every single time that Xbox is not doing well, like I don't rejoice on this. It's the exact
No, it's
opposite. I want them to do well because then there will be more competition for Sony, and Sony will be more incentivized to do even better. Like that,
yeah.
ultimately, that's the way
Well,
it works. You should always be cheering so that the other platforms are doing well, so that they get more competitive amongst themselves, because ultimately
yeah,
we come out the
we win.
winners. Like that's always
I
the
do
way I
like
look
how
at that.
Digital Foundry keeps poking Sony, saying, "Look, we're going to keep bringing up your lack of VRR until you fix it." Because Sony said that they'll patch it in, but they haven't, and they haven't announced any plans to do it. But they're like, I'm sorry, we're going to keep pointing it out because we're just going to keep seeing frame dips here and there if you don't have the variable refresh rate, which is a feature of HDMI 2.1.
Oh,
So they don't
yeah.
support it, but Xbox does. So they were saying like, if you're at, let's say like, I don't know, whatever FPS, and then there's a small dip and back and forth, variable refresh rate is the same thing as like G-Sync or whatever FreeSync. So it'll figure out like the timing of the frame delivery, and you won't have any perceived drop in FPS. So like if it's small enough, it'll feel pretty smooth, but they
I
just
get
don't have the support for it yet.
I guess because of the games that I'm playing right now, I haven't really experienced that because like I'm pretty much playing
Yeah,
14. I've played Demon Souls on it, and Demon Souls is pretty much solid 60. Like
yeah,
it has the
that's what I've heard.
occasional
Yeah,
frame freeze, but most games have a frame freeze here and there, but it's very
yeah,
rare. And then the other game that I played was Miles Morales. That's been
mm,
and then most of the other stuff that I've played is like PS4 games, so like Monster Hunter World,
yeah,
stuff like that. So I haven't
yeah.
really
Face it.
experienced too many frame drops on the console itself.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that bothers me more, um, is something that I never really thought about because I mostly just have been plugging in the PS4, the PS5 on a 4K TV. I haven't even
Mm.
thought about this, but now, because I wanted to specifically buy a monitor, not a TV, for my home, I was then put against a very bad predicament, which was, see, I wanted to get something that had more than 60 hertz. But the problem is, if you, right now, at least from the research that I did, if you don't hook up the PS4 on a monitor that supports 4K, it's just going to give you 1080p. So, like, you
Yeah,
connect that thing on a
they do not support
1440p,
1440.
and I was like,
Yep.
well, that's really bad because like that means I can't get like a 120 hertz monitor because
Yeah,
4K 120 hertz, like you're talking over €1,000. And like I'm not gonna burn a
yeah.
thousand euros in a monitor. You're
Well,
crazy.
I mean, I've talked about this before, and I get why, and I don't like it. Like their games can render at 1440p. They
Yeah.
could output at 1440p if they wanted to. It's not an issue. I mean, Xbox does it as well. They added it via patch a long time ago. The reason why they don't do it is because they're in the TV business and they're selling 4K monitors or TVs.
TVs, yeah.
So Sony says, look, the 1440p is a small subset. It's PC gamers. It's going to hurt our TV marketing strategy with 4K. We're not going to touch it. So they never add it. Even though I get it, it's a small segment, but it's not that hard of a fix for them to do. But
Yeah,
they just refuse to do it, and it kind of ticks me off.
I don't think it would be something hard for them to pull off, really.
No, so that was one of the because I have a 1440p 120 FPS monitor, which I use on the Xbox, and it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't do it on Sony yet. But maybe one day, if like you said, if there's good competition, then it could
Exactly.
pressure companies to add it.
That's exactly the
So
point. That's one of the reasons I hope Xbox, pulls together and, gets more sales going and gets more people joining their
yeah,
platform so that, Sony feels like, oh, maybe
yeah.
maybe we should take a look at this 144p thing, 120 hertz. Looks like people actually care about that. Because like,
I mean, I will
right,
say though, yeah,
I would
no, you're
just
right.
like to have tried that, and it's not really an option if I want to plug my PS4 into it, my PS5 into it, because it's just going to give me 1080p, and I'm like, well, I don't want that.
Yeah, some people said that like it'll upscale or downscale 1080p, so it looks a little bit better than 1080p, but I don't know the specifics. But all I know is it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same.
But I mean,
So
I guess for better or worse, next gen really hasn't launched. There's
yeah,
really not a lot of games. I mean, technically this holiday season is going to be the real launch of those consoles. So if you're frustrated like I am with not being able to get PS5 just because there's like that one game you want to play, I'd say it sucks, but it could be a lot worse. There could be a bunch of games out right now that we're not able to play, and that's not the case. So, we'll stick with the fight and try to get our toys when we can.
yeah.
First world problems, right?
It
I do
really
have to
is,
remind myself, like I'm bitching about not being able to spend money on a toy. It's like, people around the world have it much harder. So
and we're in the
I have to
middle of
keep
a
myself in check,
pandemic, so yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty crazy. So give us an update on the travels with Yuna and Iceborne. It's the Yuna Watch segment of the Third
I
Fleet
know.
podcast.
Yeah, so if you guys are not familiar, which I think you probably all are at this point,
At this
but
point.
Yuna decided to yeah, so Yuna's decided to get into Monster Hunter with the demo of Rise. And now I didn't shove it down her like I waited for her to say I want to try it. And she did and she loved it and she's played that demo itself I think over 70 hours. So she's put in quite a lot of time on the demo herself. So we're done with the demo. We've exhausted everything. We've done everything we want to do. I think we're just waiting now for release. And so she's like, "Oh, we got nothing to play." So I was like, "Well, we could just play Iceborne." And she's like, "Hmm." So we decided to do World and Iceborne together. So I don't know where we were a week ago, but right now we've cleared the story for Iceborne already. We've done most of the DLC monsters. We're sporting Master Rank Namiel sets and Elytron weapons and we're not quite ready to spank the full health Alatreon or Fatalis yet because we're only master rank 42. We don't even we have nothing unlocked, so we can't augment our weapons or we can't augment our armor either. And we only just recently hit hunter rank 50, so like we literally are blazing through the game. But
So
she's
so
been
so
able
just
to have her first monster.
so just real quick, like now that I mean, because you've done the whole Iceborne thing before, and that was one
It's my
thing, and
fourth run,
you were
yeah,
you were going through it at the pace that they were releasing the DLC, so obviously your hunter rank was probably accompanying and all that, and you were able to augment your weapons. Like,
yeah.
what do you think about at this point? What do you think about the unlock hunter rank for Fatalis? Do you think that makes any sense?
So I have a lot of feelings actually going through the game now, which is basically critical path. I mean,
Yeah,
so like things are we do not have the stuff that the game assumed that we were going to have, which very well may be the scenario for someone who's picking up the game right now today.
exactly.
Because of course I do recommend if it's your first time going through World, don't use the defender weapons. Like That's just an easy way to blow through low and high rank, and you're robbing yourself of a really fun experience. So don't do that if it's your first time. But if it is your first time, or if you're just trying to get through, you just want to get to the Iceborne stuff, it's basically giving you like a very strong high rank weapon early in the game and armor. So you can blow through low and high rank without much issue. But once you get into Iceborne, that stuff becomes useless. So you're back to where everyone was. Okay, I gotta make master rank gear, an alloy set or something. But you can't experience any of the arc tempered monsters or anything because your hunter rank ain't high enough because you just blew through it. So Capcom did everybody a favor by allowing them to blow through world, but they didn't change any of the in-game unlocks. So there's a lot of content. Like, for example, I was able to fight Fatalis before I can fight the strongest Jagras, which I think is hilarious. You can handle the legendary Black Dragon, but the big fat boy who spits out gems, no, not for you.
He's too dangerous. He'll eat you.
I know. So, there's a lot of the event stuff that we could not enjoy yet. So we went to Iceborne, and we've been having a really good time. And so when I cleared Iceborne, I think our master rank was like 34. So not quite at 49 yet. So we can't even unlock level 5 of the guiding lands. So it kind of puts us in a weird situation where we have to just grind for 15 hunter or 15 master ranks in order to get to the next content drip. Because the next content drip is, the MR49, Silver Rathalos, Golden Rathian, stuff like that. We're sitting with a full set, fully upgraded, and we're just kind of like, what do we do now? Because Alatreon and Fatalis will one-shot us. Or at least two-shot us. There's definitely no way we're taking 3 hits. And we can't augment anything. So it's kind of like the game just kind of like you lose purpose. And so I immediately felt that we were losing objectives. Like, I don't know what do we do next? And because Yuna does not seem interested in just grinding for grinding's sake.
That was the point, I think, where a lot of us went on to do tempered investigations to go get more decos. We were probably farming like the new deco variety, what are they called? The level 3 or tier the level 4 or tier 4.
So this is a problem. One problem we have, and this is going to be solved tomorrow or the next day, is we don't have any of the damn decorations because again, my frustration about the system.
Yeah, you don't like
I don't have we have nothing because we rushed through the game. So I don't even have one decoration with evasion window. I have no evasion extender. I have nothing. We can't even put blast resistance on our armor. So like we want to go fight the Raging Brachydios, we don't have anti-blast. So I'm kind of like, what do we do? So, and we couldn't do the greatest Jagras because our hunter rank was too low, which is stupid. And now finally we do, but that doesn't pay out a whole lot of really good decos, but it's better than nothing.
But you said so you were doing the Zenogre quest. Isn't that the tempered Zenogre one that pukes out a bunch of gems as well?
There's that one, but I mean, that's like what, 5 or 6 and it takes a while. So, I mean, again, Yuna doesn't seem very interested in grinding just for the sake of grinding.
Or for decos, because she wants to do that in Rise.
That as well. And that, I think, when it feels like work, she doesn't seem very interested in that aspect of the game, at least at this point. Then again, we're also summer vacationing, right? Like we're vacationing in Iceborne as we wait for Rise. So we know this is not data that we're going to be using for the next 2 years of our lives. So there's a little bit less investment.
Yeah, there's very less investment in those characters, which is why I specifically brought up the point, because I think that some people might hear that and be like, oh, well, maybe she's not into Monster Hunter if she doesn't like the grind. It's like, no, it's because she's just not invested in Iceborne because, couple of weeks and we'll have Rise, which is going to be the next one that we're going to be playing.
Yeah. We did 8 Zora Magdaros back to back. She loves that hunt.
Yeah, it's what I keep telling people.
Adores it.
I'm sorry. It's just I've said this time and time again. Like everybody tells me they hate the Zora Magdaros hunt, and some people also don't like the Xeno'jiiva one. And it's like these are 2 hunts that, in my opinion, were just made with multiplayer in mind. And if you go in there with a multiplayer group, it is much more fun. And I think that it could have
Yeah. So
even been improved upon by like having, you know, different objectives, having a reason for people to jump back onto Zora and stuff. But I think we talked about this in another podcast.
yeah. So she likes the grind, and she told me we tried out the arc tempered. I'm gonna get the name wrong. The arc tempered Xenojiva event quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she really liked that. We didn't beat it. She died, but we were close. But she really enjoyed it. She's like, "This is awesome," and
That
he's
was
like lasering us to death. And
one of the quests that I it usually would take me so much in between attempts that when I did, because I would usually do builds for each of the arch tempered monsters, right? So that
mm,
specific one would take me so long between attempts that in my build, I was like, look, guys, I just put a fortify deco in here. And if you die,
divine blessings.
don't waste time. Just jump in there again. Don't even worry about it.
Get
You'll
back
just
in
be
there,
dealing
yeah.
more damage. And I was just like, insect glaive, spam aerial, super safe. And if you die, you'll just deal more damage. Don't even worry. It'll be great.
I think we started playing Iceborne like what was it, like 2 weeks ago, probably. I
I,
want
th-
to
I
say I
think
don't know
I
2.
think it was less than 2 weeks ago because I'm pretty sure that last week you were in Barrioth.
Yeah, so we're already at 70 hours on our game save.
Yeah.
So that shows you how much we've been playing. So the only monsters that she hasn't faced yet, really, is we've never done a dedicated hunt for both of the Devil Joes, which we're going to be doing tonight. Both of the Rajangs, which we're going to be doing probably tomorrow, and then Safi Jiva is coming back, I think this Friday, so in like 2 days. So we did Call of Tarath last night. 2 people on Twitter came to help out because even with Master Rank gear, with 2 people, it's just not the same. It really was designed for 4 people or more.
Wait, did you say
So we
master
did the
rank?
no, we the high rank Call of Tarath,
Okay, high rank Call of Taroth.
but
Okay, yeah.
but even with Master Rank gear, it takes forever because it was not designed for 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, the starter phase. I mean, Call of
Yeah.
Taroth was the reason why I ended up playing light bowgun. I'm just like, I just want to AFK through this fight, guys. I'm sorry. I would
Mm.
just be like there, boom, 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 boom. It's like, oh, it moved. Let me adjust my aim slightly. Boom, boom, boom. That would be the whole
She
hunt.
she loved it though. She said, it's one of her favorite hunts so far.
Yeah,
She really
because
enjoyed it.
you hunted her how many times? Two?
Just once. I mean, it took
Just
us
once?
3
Yeah.
runs in there, 3 runs of getting a little bit further each time, and then we got to the final phase and beat it. And she's like, "That was fun."
Yeah, it's like if you run it the first time, then it's friggin' amazing. The problem with it is how many times we had to run it. Like the
Yeah.
thing that ruined it for me were those 2 weeks where I just kind of ran her back to back to back to back
Yeah,
until I
you
got
just
until I
burn
got my
out.
wide shelling level 4 gun lance, and then I was like, never running this again.
Yeah, so and we're underpowered, so we can't handle Master Rank Call of Tarath because we just get one-shotted, and the tail swings will just as a bow user, it'll waste her.
Oh yeah,
Like, she
yeah,
can't
straight
even
up.
take a hit. And so I don't know what we're gonna do with that because you have to beat that at least once in order to even meld the weapons. So I think we just, we'll get there eventually.
I was about to volunteer to help, and then I was like, nope, they're on Xbox.
Yeah, sorry. But I did have a lot of fun spanking baby. I call it baby Alatreon, and people are like, "Wait, what are you talking about, baby Alatreon?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, when you do the Fatalis line of quests, there's a reduced health Alatreon, and it's like I don't even know what the figure. It's got to be like 1/5, 1/8 of the health of a normal one.
I
It's
think that someone said at some point that it was like 25%, but
yeah,
I'm not
it's
entirely
it's
sure.
low. So
I'll
I was
I'll tell you what, you and me, we have different points of view on that one because I remember you putting out a tweet where you said something in the lines of like, "Oh, I'm so happy that they don't make you fight full Alatreon before Fatalis."
yeah.
I'm very much of the opinion that you should have had to beat Alatreon to go beat
So, I
Fatalis.
mean, I'm in the camp that still feels like I've done these monsters enough now, that I feel comfortable fighting them,
Yeah.
and like I could probably do Fatalis naked if I needed to. I've done him so often,
Hey.
only for the fact that you can totally cheese the hell out of that guy
Oh
because
yeah.
he's so predictable, and his attacks have such big punish windows. As long as you have a good enough weapon, you can break off the second horn naked. It's not a big deal. You just have to run around a lot.
Yeah.
But Alatreon though, I feel is harder than Fatalis in the game. I think Alatreon is the hardest hunt in the game, personally. I know it comes down to personal playstyle, weapon choice, mentality, and everything, but that's a hell of a hurdle. If you were to put Alatreon full health Alatreon before Fatalis, I think 10% of players, if that, would ever even reach Fatalis, which I understand is kind of like appealing, that type of thinking.
I mean, for me, I'll be honest. Like, call me elitist. That is a little bit appealing, but ultimately, it's not like I would be excluding people because when the events happened, like I ran for I don't know for that month, I must have done like 5 to 6 hours live streams of just
Mm,
me basically like I was done. Like I got everything I wanted of Fatalis. And I was like, okay, guys, let's go. Come in and let's go do it. And I would just take people through it. So it's like, I know that it sounds, a little bit elitist, like, oh man, you just don't want people to do it. No, it's the other way around. I want people to excel even more, like really challenge
so I want to
yourself to the
know
max.
how do you feel about it? Do you feel the Alatreon hunt after you know both of them is harder than the Fatalis, or the other way around?
The problem is the way that I did Alatreon, where I pushed myself for 13 hours on Alatreon. to just-
Yikes!
because here's the thing. Like, remember I told you I'm gonna beat Alatreon with a gun lance, and that's when
Yeah,
I just went in there slap lance style, and I just like went so hard on him that after those 13 hours, like I knew
it's pushover. You know everything now.
I wouldn't say that he's a pushover. Like every now and then he would still catch me off guard. Like the hardest thing for me was breaking the horns because of the
Yeah,
Gunlance's moveset doesn't make it particularly easy for you to break horns. But like if I could guarantee the horn breaks, everything else is just like not even challenging at all. The
easy.
only pressure point was the horns. And it's like because of the amount of hours that I spent on Altreon, I don't think I've spent that much on Fatalis. So Fatalis still feels maybe a little bit harder for me,
Mm,
but Elatreon doesn't because the biggest complaint that a lot of people had, which we talked about at length, was the Eschaton Judgment. And with the gun lens,
yeah.
like, a couple of pokes, and I, I think at one point I busted him 3 times. Like I made him, I triggered the thing 3 times before he went into Eschaton, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know you could have a third.
Yeah. Well, Yuna has no. At first, she's like, "I'm never fighting this monster." She's like, "It's cool. I love what it looks like. I love its music." But she's like, "No." She's like, "That he's too fast." She's like, "That looks annoying and frustrating." So she handed her controller over to me and said, "You take him down." Because really wanted to get the. She really wanted to see Fatalis. She knew she would die, but she's like, "That's fine. I
Oh,
want
but
to see
wait, but
Fatalis."
for baby Alatreon, okay.
I mean, we're going in there with, you know, master rank,
Yeah, yeah,
28
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
something like that.
And
So
and you're
one
saying
hit,
like
she's dead.
you're saying like Namiel gear, which is not even that great. Even Arch Tempered, I don't think Arch Tempered Namiel gear is that great personally. I mean, it's got a
Yeah, so
couple of
she gave me
comfort
the
skills, but
controller. I was able to take down her baby Alatron pretty easily. I was able to take down mine just fine. Again, it's one of those scenes that I think I'm just happy. Then we got the Fatalis. She loved the cutscene for that. She hates the story. She's just like mashing the button trying to skip the cutscenes.
oh
It's so
wow.
funny because
Mm.
she's like, she doesn't feel emotionally invested. She's like, I don't like these characters that much,
Oh
and she's like,
man, that makes me sad.
she I know, and she didn't like Ishvalda because she's like, it felt like it came for her. It felt like it came out of nowhere. She's like, why is the handler keep talking about a song? I've never heard a single song this entire time.
I
She's
have to
like,
agree. I have to agree though. I also felt that Sade Shivalda just came out of nowhere when all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay.
we got another boss.
Yeah.
Um, but it's been really fun seeing her like fall in love with certain monsters, hate certain monsters. And now she's just having now that she has the context for everything, she's going through and watching a lot of the meme videos, and having with the joke videos and having a lot of fun because she gets the jokes. And
Did
so
she not
she's
I'm sorry. Did she not like the Fatalis cutscene, for instance? Because like that one I thought was pretty cool. The one where
she liked the parts with
Aiden
the monster,
pushes
but
you.
when everyone else is talking, she's just like,
Okay.
I mean, I also think it's a side effect of us rushing through the stories that she's not
Yeah,
had time to get familiar with these characters. But she's kind of
maybe.
like she just didn't connect with them. Like she's like the old woman. I she's like I can't stop looking at the veins on her arms, and I'm like, what?
I never even thought
She
about the
got like a
veins.
really predominant vein in her arm, and that's all. Apparently, Yuna focuses on that, and she can't even hear the dialogue. She's like, "Why is her vein so bulging?" I'm like, "She's old. I don't know." But
Mm.
and she's having a lot of fun. And we've had some really good hunts. She even went through and did Kushala Daora solo the other night when I was cooking dinner, because that was the one hunt where she's like, "I can't. My arrows keep bouncing off. It's annoying as hell. Dad, you handle it." So she just sat at camp and I killed it when we went through the story.
Mm.
And she's like, "That was wrong. I need to take this monster down." So I was making dinner and she's there soloing Kushala, and she took it down and she felt really good. She's like,
She
"I'm
took
never do."
responsibility for her action. See, she's like, well, I
She
skipped
did.
this one. Now I got to go pay my dues. That's the way to
And she
do it right
says,
there.
I said, "How is it?" She's like, "I'm never doing that again."
Yeah, Kushala
But you know
is
what? She
particularly
felt good
annoying
that
for
she beat it.
bows. Can't you? Doesn't Mind's Eye Ballistics help with Kushala? I forget. No, because that's just for critical range. It doesn't actually
Yeah.
like pierce through the thing. She just
Yeah.
needs
So,
like a
and
dragon bow to proc the Elder Seal.
yeah, well, the thing is, I had made an Elatrion bow through that Elatrion hunt that I did with her. She won't use it. She's like, "I didn't make that."
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah.
she didn't beat Elatrion. She's like, "I can't use that because it feels wrong." I'm like, "Damn, girl."
You know that
Res-
a while back I did a video with a friend where we were fighting Kushala, and I said that Elder Seal is about as effective as Joe Pesci. Like, you've ever heard that there's a joke by George Carlin where he's just like, some people pray to God, I pray to Joe Pesci. Because there's a 50-50 chance he'll come down and beat somebody up with a bat. And I'm just like, that's the same
oh,
thing
that,
as Elder Seal. It's got, it's fit. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's like Joe Pesci.
oh, that is funny. Well, she said, "If I can't get it, then let's grind some Nergigante and I'll make its bow." I was like, okay. So she's a true bred hunter. I'm so proud of her. She's just doing so well and having such a good time. And she's excited to get our gear up to snuff so that she really wants to do phase 2 of Fatalis. Because she's been watching all those videos on YouTube of like the really funny edits of like, let me in and all that kind of. So she wants to experience that. She's
Yeah.
like, this looks so much fun. But we know that our gear's not ready yet, so we're gonna
Oh,
work on
yeah.
that. But with the festival coming up in 2 days, because it's 2 weeks. I don't know why they did this. It's 2 weeks of no festival, then there's 2 weeks of festival, 2 weeks no festival, and it alternates.
Yeah. When
It
I
took me
initially,
forever to figure that out because the wording on the website is cryptic as hell.
I think even the video that I made talking about that, I said it's like, oh, so this week we have this festival, then 2 weeks after we have another festival, and I think that would make more
Yeah.
sense considering that
Oh yeah, it would make a lot more sense.
it was the last update to the game, so just have the event cycle forever and boom, done, you're good. I guess the problem is that if you have that, they should put like a 2 week period in where there's no events, but not alternated. Because I guess the idea is if you just have the events back to back, you never get to see the original gathering hub.
The original, yeah, yeah.
So it's
That's
like
probably it.
I get that they want to do that, but I feel like you could do something better. Like
Mm,
maybe do two events back to back and then 2 weeks of not
yeah.
having it.
Well, how about
'Cause-
1 week? Why not 2 weeks of an event, 1 week nothing? 2 weeks because the events are
yeah,
important because they keep showing you all the gear, but you can't make it.
yeah, that kind
It's
of
like
sucks. Particularly like if like I remember the grind that it was to get the 50 Shades of White weapons.
yeah,
Like that was a long time of killing Barrioth. And it's like
yeah.
that is
Guild
stuff that is
Palace.
cool for you to have so that you can like change the appearance of your weapons into Guild Palace weapons and whatnot. And I remember that there were a couple of events that I was like, okay, I really gotta put in a lot of effort to make sure that I get all of these tickets to craft all of
Mm,
these things. And it was harsh sometimes. It wasn't always just like, oh, this one night we'll just grind out everything. There were several events that it took significant time investment.
yeah,
The Guild Palace weapon is
yeah.
just
So
one of
there's
the
two
first that comes to
hurdles.
mind.
Yeah, there's like two hurdles we have left, which is one, the decoration problem, which should be solved this week. Because now that there's going to be a festival, I'm assuming that means that we'll also be able to get those melding tickets at the Steamworks, which you can then use at the Elder to like just make a crap ton of decorations.
Yeah.
I did that on my main save, and I think I made like 300 decorations in a day,
The
and I
problem
got
with
all the
that,
base ones that I was missing.
yeah, the problem is that you get the base ones, but you don't get like the really good ones. So like critical with evasion or something like that. I think
We don't
those,
have anything. We don't even
yeah, I
have a
know.
single decoration with weakness exploit, not even one of them.
So
Not
there's
even one.
so there's this quest that I'm sure you probably know, the one where you go gather herbs or whatever. It's an event
Yeah,
quest.
yeah. We did that about 20 times, but we didn't get anything horribly excited. But we got a few things that were good,
Yeah, but it's like
and
you
I
do
you can do
that
that in like
one,
20 seconds.
but you use like the set combination that gives you uh additional
Extra
tickets.
rewards.
And it's like I don't remember exactly how you do it, but you can do something that gives you great luck with Kieran pieces, and then
Yeah,
also get the additional chance at VIP rewards, not the 5 piece, but like the 3 piece. So you combine that, and then you go in there, and then you just
mm,
spam that quest
farm
into
it.
oblivion. Yeah, but
Yeah, so I might do that
it's not
eventually,
fun
but
times. It's not fun times.
yeah, like we. So I think we'll. The thing is like she doesn't have the mighty bow decoration, which is holding her back big time in
Yeah,
damage wise,
that sucks.
and she hasn't gotten it. And we can't. And everyone's like, "Oh, but you can craft it." No, you can't because the amount of points that they put on that damn thing is upsetting. So it takes like five. It takes like 5,000 points in order to exchange for one of those. She could exchange every single decoration, including all of her level fours that we've gotten in 70 hours of gameplay. She does not have enough points to make one of them. Not even
Damn.
one. Yeah, it's way too. I mean, they assumed that they were opening it for people who have put in hundreds of hours. So we can't even make it. So
So I actually have a point in the podcast that kind of relates to this. So I figured I would bring that up now, which is
mm,
we got RNG weapons in Cult to Roth. We got
yeah,
RNG weapons in Safi Jiva. We got RNG decorations in Monster Hunter World. And I was wondering, like, considering that you're more in tune with like Japanese culture and all of that, like, what is the motivation, do you think, behind the Monster Hunter team wanting to do this? Because, like, you have this game, and this is something that I've gone back and forth with my community as well, because some people actually like the loot pinata aspects of Kolf to Roth and Safi Jiva and all of that.
yeah,
But it's like you have this game where the principal idea behind design, at least one of the principal ideas that I consider to be core to my enjoyment of Monster Hunter, is the fact that, like, hey, I want the fire sword. I killed a big fire dragon. I get the fire sword.
yeah.
Like, I don't like this idea of, you know, I kill this monster and it's a loot pinata, and it's like you're playing Destiny, basically, right? It's like you're playing
Well,
looter shooters, and like
that's gonna be my.
I come to
Oh, go
Monster
ahead.
Hunter for, something different. I like the experience that I have in Monster Hunter has always been different. And when it boils down to the loot pinata playstyle is something that I personally don't like. Like, I'll engage with it because, for starters, I'm making content around it and all of that stuff. And certain playstyles are basically locked behind those weapons. Like, you want to have a really powerful elemental weapon? Well, if you kill Coulter Roth and you upgrade it and bada bada ba, you get it with critical element imbued in the weapon itself, on top of the fact that it's going to have a hefty chunk of elemental damage. And you can do the custom thing. I forget the name, the custom augmenting on top of the regular augmenting, which means you can increase the elemental damage even more. It's like, well, I mean,
Yeah,
there's very few weapons in the game, if any, that are going to face up against something like that when it comes to elemental damage. It's just straight up, it's like best. It's the best, right? And I think that that's a problem. A lot of people don't think that's a problem.
hmm,
I think that's a massive problem. Like, weapons need to
yeah.
kind of
It's
like compete amongst themselves. Like, there should be a reason for me to use the Anjanath sword and shield versus using the Rathalos sword and shield, right? There should
yeah.
be something there. It shouldn't just be like, well, the Rathalos one is just better. It's like, well, I'm not saying it is, by the way. At this point, I don't remember, but
So
So
there's two points you made that I want to comment on. So one of them is why there's so much darn RNG in the game. My guess is that this was the developers for World and Iceborne. I would guess it would be Tokuda-san directly trying to mimic Western games. And the fact that Monster Hunter had let me lay the groundwork for why I feel this way. There's never been that much RNG in the past Monster Hunter games. There's certain aspects of the games that do have RNG, but never that many. I think Iceborne was a hell of a step up in the amount of RNG there was. I mean, you missed a few also. There's RNG in what quests you can get for investigations. That's RNG. You've got the RNG obviously from monster carves and drops. Then you've got the decorations. Then you've got the call of weapons. You got the Safi weapons. There's so much RNG, and then the decorations is just crazy. But I think that the team has not made a console Monster Hunter game for a very long time. And so they only looked at Western games for influence, saying, how do they run a game on a console where people are going to play for long hours, long play sessions, sitting down with multiple people, so they're going to burn through content very fast, which I can prove because me and Yuna got
yeah,
through essentially all of single player and multiplayer because it's combined. We got through all of that in like 20 hours or something. Like it was nothing. Iceborne only took us an additional 15 hours. So by the 40-hour mark, we were done with like everything. So they were probably looking at Western games saying, what do they do to keep people engaged? What do they do to, keep the game alive? And they looked at loot stuff. Games like Destiny or Diablos or I don't know, any other game that has lots of RNG involved. And they said, let's do that. And so I think that was the reason and the inspiration was Western games. And just maybe not just Western. Maybe I'm putting the word Western where it doesn't belong. I think they were looking at other games that were like console, like long-term multiplayer games. And they said, okay, we need more RNG so that we reward people for putting in more hours. But I think that really hurt the traditional experience, and I can't stand it because, like you said, there's decorations I just don't have. So there's entire set builds and concepts and ideas that we can't even run.
yeah,
Like if I want to take a lance into arc tempered Xenojiva and I want guard up so that I can guard, a big laser, I can't do that.
yeah. There
So
were I that was one of my biggest complaints whenever I would put up a build video, because like I played a ton
no.
of hours, right? Like I played a lot because I was really enjoying it. So naturally, I had more decorations than a lot of people that did. I'm not even saying I had that many, because I know of a lot of people that had a bunch of attack plus twos, critical eye plus twos. I even remember when they gave away the critical eye 4
Yeah.
deco. I actually made a video specifically to remind people, and then I didn't get it because I logged in,
Oh
I
no.
accepted the bonus, and then I closed the game, and I didn't
Ah, you
save
didn't,
it.
didn't save it. So yeah, I
But
mean, I just don't like it at all personally because of the reasons we've discussed in the past. So and that's where I think the inspiration is because it's not handheld.
yeah,
Um, I lost train of thought. There was something else you mentioned that I was going to talk about, but I completely forgot. But
I
yeah,
was talking about
I'm not a fan.
I was talking about the motivations behind the devs and just like, the whole loot pinata aspect of it. But I do have another question. So for you had a system that also had something like this kind of where you get like
Yeah, so that's
relic weapons or
yeah, so
something
that's what I was
like
going to
that?
mention. Yeah, so that's the other thing I was going to talk about, which was you were mentioning about the power creep. They're too powerful. And I think this is a
Yes.
problem that persisted in 4 Ultimate. In the fact that the guild weapons that you can get as a drip of trying to get people to do the guild quests over and over again because it was very grindy. Like to get to get the quest all the way up to level 140, and then you had to do it over and over again and get a random drop, hope for the weapon that you want. In order to do that, they made them like stupidly powerful. Um, and I hated that. And that's why I refused to use guild weapons. I never used the guild quest weapons because it's like I fought a Rajang and I got a fire weapon that makes no sense,
Yeah, I
and I still
remember.
feel I feel the same way about Kolv and I feel the same way about Safajiva. Like I don't why am I getting an ice weapon for fighting Safajiva? Like that there's no connection there at all.
Yeah, it was
So,
actually something that because of the Safi Jiva grind that I did, which I didn't grind Safi Jiva as hard as I ground like Kulf to Roth or anything like that, but I did ground Ground grind. I did grind
Ground.
Safi Jiva like a lot to, to get all of those bonus rolls on the weapons and all of that stuff. And after making like all of the perfect weapons that I wanted, the second they came out with Raging Brachiosaurus, I was like, yes, I don't have to use my Safi Jiva weapon anymore. Even though I think that at the time, by like some small percentage, the Safi Jiva weapon was better. I was like, I don't care. I don't even want to look at it. I just don't care. I don't want to look at it. I got this other weapon and it's from Brachiosaurus and I'm using that. Like get the Safi Jiva stuff away from me.
It reminds me of that meme with like Andy throwing away Woody. Like, I don't want to play with you anymore.
Yep. That's pretty much what happened. But yeah.
I mean, it's just blowing through Iceborne. It's just hurt it even worse because the game, like you were saying, has it assumes so much micro customization and augmentation and upgrading that we don't even have access to those. So it's like we're kind of at a weird stuck point. And I think at that point the game is saying, okay, well, you need to grind your master rank, go do it, go get it done, which is
it's like
every Monster Hunter game has had that.
How much guiding lands did you guys do?
Not much at all. Yet. I mean, I'm just leveling up like my nodes and stuff.
Because that was the thing, right? Like when we the very first time that we finished Iceborne, we just like, oh my god, there's all this new map and all of these great things for us to go explore and do. And so I would just live in the guiding lands basically. I just live here now. Like this is my home. And I would just stay in there killing monsters for hours on end without even worrying about what I was leveling or what I was like. I think I only worried about that like 2 weeks after I got to the end of the game. Then I was like, okay, let's hunker down. I'm gonna level the forest and this other area. You to a friend of mine, you're gonna level this area and this. So like we had me and 2 other friends. We had like all of the areas available to us because we each leveled different areas.
Yeah, I'm gonna drag her in there and hopefully she'll enjoy it. But right now, I think in her mind, she enjoys the idea of going specifically on a quest to fight a monster. It's like a story, right? There's a narrative, and I think the idea of just having random monsters and just beating them up, it doesn't appeal to her yet. So she's like, I told her, well, I can level mine up, and we can have a Silver Rathalos. And she's like, isn't there a quest that we can go on with it?
Yeah.
She's like, I would much rather do that. I'm like, I'm going in there to fight it, and I fight it. And she likes the idea that you can fail a quest. That shows what a gamer she is. She likes the idea. She's like, well, if you can't fail the quest, then it just feels like work. And she's like, I like the idea that I can fail. And because that means when I win, it feels really good. I'm like, well, you've got a good point there. I was like, well, they can run away if you're too slow. And she's like, nah. So I don't know. We'll see. But again, I still think that this is a side effect of the fact that we know that we're going to be playing Rise next month.
Yeah.
So I think she's just not as invested, and she just wants to have the experience.
It's one of those things, just like thinking about grinding the guiding lands when a month and change from now you're going to be playing a different game. It's just like, do I really?
Yeah.
Because like when we were grinding the guiding lands, like this is it. This is currently the Monster Hunter bleeding edge is here in the guiding lands, and that feels good to grind. But like when you already know that there's something else after it, and that whatever you do in here doesn't really matter that much, it's just like you start to lose interest. Yeah.
So let me just say this, because we've been touching on a few of the negative aspects of rushing through the game. She's absolutely adores the game. If I told her, how much would you give it out of 100? And she's like, 100. She's like, this game is awesome. She's really enjoyed her time with it. She's enjoyed all the hunts, and she tells me, I'm so happy we decided to play it. I feel like I'm a better hunter. I've loved the monsters. And she comes home from school every day and says, we're playing Monster Hunter now, right? And I'm like, yes, we are. So she's hooked. And so Iceborne did exactly what it needed to do, which was it hooked her just as much. I mean, the Rise is what hooked her. Iceborne is now teaching her the ropes.
Yeah.
And she's really enjoyed it. So nothing but good stuff, so to say, overall. At this point, I'm just nitpicking about the fact that we've gone through too fast.
Yeah.
But we've had such a good time.
But it is
her favorite hunts though is like the ones that everyone hates, are the ones that she loves the most. So her favorite hunt so far, she said, is Zora Magnaros. Her second favorite hunt is Xenojiva. And her third favorite hunt, what did she say it was? I think she said it was Namiel, only because we grinded it so much and she enjoyed it a lot. But and she loved Call.
Namiel was very, very cool in Iceborne. I think I ranked it very high when it came to Iceborne and World Monsters. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, it's
we got her. We got her, boys. She's hooked. We got
it's
her.
it's really good that that she's been enjoying it, and it's one of those things. Like it's also nice to see what the experience is from someone who is coming in now, right, and starting it over
Yeah.
again, because the pace at which we played it was very different. Like we had a lot more breaks in between to
Oh yeah.
grind, hunter rank, and all of that stuff. And now that the content is all there, it's not just one of those things where, oh, the game is just better because all of the content is here. No, there's actually certain things that don't work as well when the content is
Yeah.
all
Pros and
there.
cons. Yeah.
And I never even considered that because I
Yeah.
was just like, this is the content right now. I'm enjoying the content right now. I just always assumed like, oh, this is going to be the best thing ever. But I guess there are things there that don't necessarily translate as well when there's a bunch of content that's basically being walled off from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that
That,
this
and
is
it's also been a
something?
real. It's been. Go ahead.
Do you think that this is also something that would potentially happen with older Monster Hunter games? Like I don't think it would happen the same. Like for instance with
I don't
GU.
think so. No.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that I think the game did, the past games, and this might be me romanticizing the past, to a certain degree, because everything, you remember it better than it was,
Yeah.
so to say. But my gut feeling says that in the past, the only power creep that I think that it was just better balanced overall. That they assumed that there would have to be a good mix of weapons at launch, like end game stuff. Especially GU fixed it with like every weapon having a final form. There's like over 100 final forms for every weapon.
Yeah.
But even like past games like 3U or 4U, like the event quests had certain armor, right? That was really powerful and good, but it was never that much better than your typical G rank monster gear.
Yeah.
It wasn't that night and day. So I think it was just less of a power creep, I guess would be the right way to put it. So I guess I never felt that it was a big issue. Like they didn't have to entice you by saying, "Hey, if you do this quest, we'll give you more this or more that." It's like, well, then that becomes the only quest that you do. Like if I want armor spheres, I only do event quests that give me armor spheres and stuff like that. I don't remember there being a lot of quests like that. I mean, remember there was quests that had slightly higher drop rates for rare materials, which was kind of like what they did with investigations and the like gold and silver things. Not quite to that extent,
The
but
one
it's just a different approach.
I remember is like some Brachydios quest where you need to do something to get charms in GU, the
Yeah.
charm farm.
Yeah, the charm run is the one that does exist though. That's always been a tradition stable is there's always that one quest that gives you lots of charms. But
Yeah.
again, I would much rather be grinding for a charm than decorations because you could just ignore the whole charm thing and say whatever, and you're still 90% of the way there. So
Yeah, like
it's just
I
different.
didn't grind charms all that much. Like I mostly used the melding system, and then eventually like I would get one or two good ones, and I was just like, oh, this one's good.
Mm,
I'll take this one, and then I would just use those
yeah.
instead of going to grind for them. Like I might have done that charm run maybe 5 times total, if that.
Wow, I did it hundreds of times,
Yeah,
hundreds.
I can imagine.
And I'd say 99% of those charms I never used. I was just
Yeah.
hunting for that one diamond in the rough.
Of course, that's the eternal chase. It's like chasing after a critical 4 deco. It's you're gonna keep chasing it forever unless you're lucky. So,
Yeah, so
but it's good. It's good to
that's
hear that
Iceborne.
Yuna's enjoying it, and you guys are going through it, and you still have couple of events ahead of you, and then potentially
Yeah, that
Fatalis.
was the thing I was going to mention that I forgot was watching her play has been really interesting as someone who makes tutorial videos on weapons on how to use them. Like I always put a lot of effort into the tutorials of saying in what order do I explain the mechanics, right? Because you can
Yeah.
listen to 10 people try to explain the charge blade to people and you come away with very different results. Like easy to understand to what is this complicated grab bag of shit? Like you don't get it. So there's like it's really hard because I'll script it out, I'll read it, and I'll be like, I'm jumping too fast. Like, when do you start talking about stuff? And so I thought I was being very careful about it, but then Yuna's been opening my eyes a lot to this idea of you don't have to know every mechanic when you first start the weapon. There is a way to start a weapon where you know the base, I would say the concept of the weapon, and you know the core moves. And you play and you get used to those. And then you go, okay, now there's this other technique and move that I could do. How do I start to work that into my arsenal? And then, so she's been doing bow and she's been doing it through tiers. And it's been really interesting. Like I was like, oh, did you know you could do this? You could do that. She's like, I shut up. She's like, I'm having fun. I'm learning how to use the regular shot of the bow. I'll deal with charging and stepping. I'll do that later when I'm used to it. And she's been taking it in steps, and it's
Yeah.
been really interesting to see that's been very good for her. And then when she feels ready, she's like, okay, I want to learn how to use this other move. And then she's like, oh, this is great.
That's one of the reasons when I do my my weapon stuff, I like to do it in real time. So like I'm recording and playing at the same time, so that I can show
Yeah.
them the sequence of moves. And it's like for the charge blade specifically, like a lot of people told me they came out of my guide like, oh, I really understand a lot of these things now, whereas they were really confused about the charge blade previously. Because like I start the charge blade explanation, the first thing that I just show them, oh yeah, and then you just spam these two buttons, big explosion. And it's like, but before we get to that, let's just start by doing a quick little slash, and now a double charge slash. And now you see, and when the double charge slash fills up your things, then you put this thing on the shield, and and you go through the motions like slower like that. At least to me, that's the way
Yeah.
that works for me. But
I got some interesting ideas of how to tweak my formula for tutorials for Rise. And I'm really excited to work on those when the game comes out and we know everything and I have enough time to really understand it. It's exciting. I'm excited. I can't wait. Very
dude,
excited.
I can't wait for it either. So now I wanted to bring up that thing because like before the podcast, I showed you a video. This is a video
Yeah.
from another fellow content creator. It's Blunty. For those of you that know who Blunty is, I forget if it's Blunty 3000, the actual name of the channel or not. But either way, there's going to be a link to Blunty's video in the description of this video, and it is about enhancing the visuals of Monster Hunter Rise. Now, when I say this, I'm not saying like, oh my God, upscale 4K HDR RTX on. None of that. This is going to be something extremely subtle, but it was something that I still looked at it and I was like, huh, this actually looks a little bit different. So Blunty shows in his video that there's this device called the M Classic, which is that's lowercase m and then just like classic. And this device was used to like do subtle enhancements through an HDMI connection for like retro games and stuff like that to make them look a little bit better. And basically he hooked that up and he made a comparison video between Rise with and without the M Classic. And I thought that, there's a couple of things here and there. There's a little bit less jaggies. There's a little bit more definition, a little bit more contrast. Again, it's not going to be night and day. It's going to be something that probably if you're looking at on your phone, you're not even going to be able to tell the difference. Like you need to actually look at this on a screen. But like I thought that was cool. And it's like, it made me want to buy one of those things, but that's going to be hard. And it's also very expensive. So for the people that are, having troubles with, oh, I don't know if I should buy a Switch, don't even think about this. This is for those people that already have the Switch. They're like, man, if only the graphics were a little bit better. But what do you think about it? You saw the video as well.
Yeah. So I mean, basically what it's doing is three things, right? So it's applying a sharp filter, which we
Yes.
know from looking at like PC games have, what do they call that? Not DTS, or I can't remember the acronym, but there's
DLSS?
DLSS, yeah, where it like sharpens the image from a lower resolution or something. It makes it look a little bit sharper.
Hmm.
Like so, it's actually it's just applying a sharp filter. It's deepening the shadows and it's raising the contrast a little bit.
Yeah,
It's doing
it's a
post
couple of
processing
filters.
in real time. Yeah. So just for those who are listening and they're not watching it, it applies these nice little filters on the image that you're playing as you play it. Um, I mean, I think it's neat. I do. It does make me think that it would be nice, but I highly doubt Capcom would do it. But I like how Iceborne had options to turn and tweak things.
Yeah,
For example, if they had an option to turn down to raise the contrast a little bit in the game, like a global contrast button, that would be kind of cool.
yeah.
Or
Like
if they had
one
a
of the
sharpening
things.
option.
One of the things that I did is I actually went, because we've been resetting our save files so many times by now. I actually went in one of those and I lowered the brightness. The thing
Mm,
is, I don't know how that would then translate to live streams or whatnot, but like on my screen, after I lowered the brightness, like I got so much more contrast out of it. I almost think that when they show you the two images, I almost think that for the demo, those two images weren't really super well calibrated because like I just lowered it by like one and the thing just looked way better. Like it wasn't as whitewashed as it is
yeah.
by default
I was
on
just say
the
this.
50 option. So
This really reminds me though of World with the atmospheric fog.
yeah,
Like if you took the was it the volumetric fog or whatever, if you took that and you turned it off, what it would do would make the game pop. Like everything looked a lot more vibrant, a lot more sharp, and it even helped performance for PC and stuff like that. So this reminds me so much of that, even though it's not doing the same thing.
and
So, there's people who didn't like that, and they said it looks worse, it looks cheaper, it looks fake. Then there's people who said no, it makes the game look like it's much higher quality graphically. So I think it's different things for different gamers. Like some people want a more sharper image, some people want higher vibrancy.
I think ultimately I want everyone that listens to this to be aware of what I'm about to say next. I don't think this thing is worth the asking price, but I'm crazy
Yeah.
and I would really like to have it anyway. It
Well, I
was like
mean, yeah, and
because this thing is like $99 or something. I'm like, yeah, $99 for something that applies a couple of filters to the game. It's like it's a little bit
mm,
pricey, but it's just like I know I'm going to be playing this game for so many hours that if I could have something with a little bit more contrast and whatnot, and make it look just a little bit better, it would still it would still be something that I would like to have. But I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not personally interested in it, but it's a fascinating little device. I'm very interested to see. He says in the video it has unperceivable or very low latency for the processing that it's doing. But I'm curious because we already know that there's some latency that we can
Yeah.
perceive through the Switch Pro controller already. Like, does that add on top of it? I don't know. So it'd be very interesting to see how these little latency things stack. Like, if I'm playing on an Elgato with a Pro controller with this thing on, it might add
Oh
up to
my
a point where it's
god.
not worth it.
It might add up to a point where it's damn near unplayable for you. Like,
It's like you were talking the Safajiva weapons where we're slotting in latency 1, latency level 2, latency level 3, and
yeah.
in the end it makes a big difference. I mean, I don't we talked about this before and maybe offline, but I can't play with the Pro controller not connected. I actually have to wire it to
Yeah.
the Switch because the little bit of latency I feel is just enough to throw me off.
I still have issues with my pro controller, but I've heard from people that
That's ever all of us, yeah.
that just might be my my pro controller because I've heard from a lot of people that most of them don't have issues with the pro controller. So I'm just thinking
Well, I had to
I
buy
might
a
end
new
up
one.
buying the Monster Hunter one because that thing looks gorgeous.
That got announced the day after I bought a new Switch Pro controller. The day
Oh
after.
man, I'm so
I'm
sorry.
like, "Come on."
Did we talk about that console in the podcast yet? By the way, I forget.
I don't know,
I
actually,
don't
that's a good
think we did. I don't think we talked about the console. Did you like it? The
Yeah,
look of
I
the
like
Monster
it. I
Hunter
mean
console. I think it looked
I mean,
gorgeous,
I'm
dude.
kind of like here eating popcorn, watching everybody think that there's gonna be a Switch Pro coming out this year, even though the CEO just went live again to investors saying we are not releasing a new model this year. I mean, he basically just told the investors, we're committed to our existing launch. We're not doing new hardware right now.
Yeah,
And it's like, there's no Switch Pro coming this year. I mean, okay, maybe everyone's like, okay, I believe, and he's lying and he has to say that. I'm like, I don't see it.
I
I would
think
love
it
it if
would
they do, but
be
I don't see it.
I think it would be tremendously anti-consumer to like do it after. I mean, anywhere in the 6 months after Monster
6 months,
Hunter
yeah, yeah,
Rise,
yeah.
I think it would be
Yeah.
tremendously anti-consumer. Like if they do it 6 months after Monster Hunter Rise, that's one thing. But like, you know,
Yeah.
April and then it's like, let's say June is like, oh, by the way, Switch Pro. It's like, no, dude,
Well, the thing is,
there's no way.
I want to know what happened behind the doors of the business deals with this one because there's something that I think is kind of shitty, which is that they started pre-orders for Monster Hunter Rise, right? A while ago. And I don't know how pre-orders go in the West, but here we already paid for it, like money down. We paid for the product. And then they announce that they're bringing out a new system. Now what they typically do in Japan is if you've ever noticed there's a lot of special edition consoles that don't come with the game.
Yeah.
The reason for that is sometimes they announce the console after they've already started pre-orders for the game, and they don't want you to say, "Yeah, you bought the game, you can't cancel your pre-order, but you can still buy the console." Well, they're packaging the game inside this version, which I think is really bad. So it's
I
like there's a lot of people I'm seeing comments saying, "I would love to get it, but I already pre-ordered the game. I'm not buying the game twice."
the one thing that bothered me about that, and by the way, here in the West, at least in Portugal, the way it works is like you might put down like a percentage, like say €5 or something like that, which is about percentages. It's a little bit less than 10% of the cost of the game. But basically, you put that down. But then it's like if you cancel it, they'll give you like store credit or something. So you can
Yeah.
cancel it pretty much up until like at least a week. And in some places, you can cancel it even on the day the game comes out. You can just go there and be like, yo,
Wow.
I actually want to cancel my pre order. And at least that's the way that it used to be. Nowadays, I don't know, because I don't really pre order games. But the thing that I thought was kind of crappy for me is like, so here's this collector's item, right? Which is, you know, the special edition console comes with a digital version of the game. Like a digital version? Like, I mean, if you're someone who is a collector, you're gonna want the box art of the game. You're gonna want to have the cartridge, even if you do eventually like end up buying the digital game so that you don't have to swap cartridges back and forth. You're gonna want to have that. So I don't understand like the reasoning behind. Oh, and there's a digital copy in there. I'm like, why? I don't get it. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I thought the console looked great. I'm assuming it's going to be like the revised version of the Switch, which is the one that has a little bit more battery life.
Yeah. I'm disappointed that they don't have a Switch Lite. But looking at sales numbers, it makes sense because the Switch is selling so much better than the Lite. The Lite is pretty much selling like the same thing as like a PS4 Pro. It's like 15% of the sales is Lite and 85 is the regular Switch.
I'm actually surprised the Lite hasn't sold more because I always assumed that the versatility of the Switch, like the thing that I really like about
Yeah.
it, that you can use it on the TV and you can use it on the go. I
Mhm.
always assumed that was a thing that was more me, that was a little bit more niche, that I'm the one that like, oh man, I love the fact that I can plug that. I thought most people were going to be playing it like handheld mode, but I
Yeah, I
guess I
think
was
it
wrong.
turns out that Nintendo was right. I think they were right that that was the core concept, and I think people that echoes with the majority,
I
which I
I
think is fine. I like both,
I
but they're very
remember
different
they
experiences.
I remember they did like a poll or something or some kind of like study where it showed that I think the split was like 60-40 between the people who would use it mostly on TV and who would use it mostly on handheld.
Yeah,
It was around 60-40 or something like that. So while it's not 50-50, it's pretty damn close. So I do think that it was they just basically pull it out of the what's the expression? Knocked it out of the park. I was about to say pulled it out of the
yeah.
park, but that sounded weird.
Huh. But the console looks great, and I like the fact that they had the Pro controller. It looks snazzy, so
Yeah.
I just wish they would have announced it earlier. So my question is like, why didn't they? Like, were they hesitant on whether they would make it, or was their plan? Were they actually, tinfoil hat? Were they juggling ideas of, hey, are we doing the Switch Pro this year or next year? Like, I don't know. Like, maybe that was a thing. But whatever it is, it seems like they're committed on the Switch this year because they announced the Mario one, the color version. They announced Monster Hunter Rise. So like, they seem very committed now to saying, okay, we're bringing out normal Switches. So I think there may have been a debate in Nintendo on what they were doing, and maybe it took them some time to figure it out. But this just tells me more and more that like the Pro probably ain't coming anytime soon, or whatever it'll be called.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be
Yeah.
coming anytime soon either, but yeah.
But I think they actually have, and this is kind of funny. They announced that limited edition for Japan and Europe. I don't think they've even announced it for America yet. When people are getting really antsy about it, they're like, "Is this going to be available to Americans or not?" We don't know.
I thought I saw somewhere that it was going to be available worldwide, but I don't didn't get any hard
No
confirmation on that.
announcements that I know of. Yeah.
I just thought it was weird when people are like, "Oh, I haven't received the announcement in the West yet," and I was like, "Dude, I have a press release in Portugal. How's that not coming out in the U.S.? Like, there's no way that this thing comes to Portugal and it doesn't go to the U.S. Like, there's just no way."
No way.
But yeah. And while we're on the subject, back to Monster Hunter Rise. So there was an interview this week with IGN. Like, remember we talked about how for Iceborne they did a bunch of content with Game Informer. It definitely
Yeah.
seems like with Rise, most of that comment's going to be coming
IGN.
from IGN because like we've seen early gameplay of Somnicanth in the
Yeah. They just
Frost
uploaded a
Islands.
video today showing off the
Yeah,
customization options for Palamutes and Palicos.
yeah, showing off the customization stuff. And by the way, because I know that a lot of people are upset with I made a little bit of fun of the person that was playing on the Somnicanth video because they slept Somnicanth and woke it up with a blade dance. Okay, I'm sorry. I laughed. But here's the thing, like a lot of people like criticized me harshly. It's like, here's the thing. Immediately after I did that, I apologized. Like, I'm sorry. It's just like, you're so used to like, oh, monster goes down, here comes the bomb barrels and all of that stuff, right? And it's like, you see the person just go into a blade dance, and I was like,
Well, have you seen the comments of people comment about? They had two videos. They had the English IGN had dual blades footage, and the Japanese IGN, because they do have a Japanese branch of it now. They had a hunting horn video, and I saw a lot of comments saying, "Wow, the hunting horn, the Japanese person's much better at this game. They're more." You could tell that they've played it more often. I'm like, oh, guys, give them a break. They did a good job showing it off. I mean, I want to see the monster. I don't want to see a hunter. And actually, Yuna complained about seeing that footage.
why?
She was upset. What was it that the hunter did?
The
Oh, there
Japanese
was
one?
the
Because I
crystal.
didn't see the
No,
Japanese
both
one.
of them.
Okay.
Both of them. She complained because she's like, the point of this video is to show off the monster, not somebody playing and how they can use a weapon, right? So Somnicanth has this attack where it shoots out these like purple crystals on the ground,
And none of them
and the
touched it.
hunter never got caught in them. And so we don't know what they do. And it really took, she's like, why are they not getting hit by this? I want to see what it does.
Yeah, that's
I'm
actually a
like,
good. I didn't even think of it like that, but I've heard some
yeah,
people, the same sentiment of like, oh, we just don't know what those were. They're probably poison. I thought it was weird though that like it took the hunter so long to get slept, like because the dual blades hunter only got, I think he only got hit by sleep. He or she, I'm not sure. They only got hit by sleep once, I think, in that whole fight. And I was like, damn, either sleep is really easy to dodge or they were actually pretty good. I mean, I even gave
yeah.
them props on the fact that like they used the turf wars to sharpen, which I thought was pretty good. Like, when the monsters, they're just like, oh, let me just cheeky sharpen right here. Didn't even move away from them, just like cheeky sharpen, like not even a
You're
problem.
you're trying so hard to make up for that comment you made, I
I'm
guess.
so
I
sorry.
didn't.
Because like the thing that I'm always concerned with is that it does the fact that I laughed, because I thought it was funny, okay, but like the fact that I laughed might seem like I'm being exclusive to like new people trying out the game and whatnot. It's like
Yeah.
that's the biggest concern that I have with those types of things, right? The interview that I covered that we're about to dive into a couple of topics, I thought was a pretty good interview.
Mm,
I mean, it wasn't one of those traditional interviews where it's like, here's the question, here's the answer. It was more
yeah.
like they did the interview and then they wrote like a piece and then they had a couple of quotes from
Interesting.
Ichinose. So that's actually the topic that I wanted to pivot us into. So
Let's
I'm going
do
to
it.
tell you a couple of things. I don't have the exact quotes in front of me, even though I think I can pull them
Just
up.
so people know, I did not read the interview, so this could be
Yeah, so
interesting news for me.
so Gaijin doesn't know anything about this. I do want to pull a couple of quotes. Give me just one quick second. It was here.
There we
Okay,
go.
I have all of them here. So first thing, did you know that when they started the development of Rise, initially they had planned to do loading, the zone loading like in the old school games? Were you aware of that?
I think I was, but that makes total sense because remember we were discussing they started Rise at the
Yeah.
same time that they started World, and they probably told themselves there's no way we could possibly. They probably didn't even hit their mind that they could get away with doing it without loading, and then they
So
probably saw World and said, "Oh shit, we should probably. This is nice. We should probably try to do this."
it is exactly that. Here's the exact quote from Ichinose. On the Nintendo Switch, we thought it would be difficult to preserve visual quality and detail in a sandbox environment. However, as development progressed, we started realizing that open environments had become more and more the norm for blockbuster titles, and the success of World inspired us to take on the challenge. So this actually got me thinking, right? Because remember how we
Paraphrasing.
said that? Remember how we said the the maps in Rise feel a little bit smaller than the maps in World.
Oh yeah, well not a little. They're a lot smaller
Yeah.
actually. Now that I've been playing Iceborne, they're a lot smaller.
So the maps feel a little bit smaller, and on top of it, they also feel smaller than like maps on the previous games. So I was thinking like, the maps on the older games, they actually feel larger than the maps in World. They're not. I don't think they are. But the reason they feel larger is because of the fact that there's those loading zones, there are multiple arenas, and there's multiple things in the map that you go and you check
Well,
out.
yeah, and there's not a you can't just go to like area 5. You got to go through certain routes to get to certain areas, right?
Exactly. So I was actually thinking like, which one do I actually prefer? And I'm still not 100% sure on the answer. Like I think that ultimately I like the natural evolution that is to just have like the open world where you just like run everywhere, right? I think
Yeah.
that, but it's like when I think about it, like the illusion that those other maps are bigger has its own appeal, despite the fact that it's got the
Oh, yeah.
loading zones. And there's going to be a subset of gamers that's going to be like, "Oh, dude, I can't deal with those loading zones, dude. Get that away from me." It's like after having played as much as I have of the game, it doesn't bother
Yeah.
me at all. Like if they
Yeah, I would
had
say
done
that
loading zones, I'd be like, yeah, it's fine, not a problem.
I'd be fine with it too. I personally prefer the way it is now that they changed it, but I am the same. I don't mind loading at all. And I think Monster Hunter more than perhaps other games, I think the smoke and mirrors, like you remember like back in the day, like in the PSP or whatever, like you go into like the verdant hills and you get like the beautiful like pre-rendered background and it looks
Yeah,
like you're in the middle of like a high resolution forest is photo real or something and it's like, oh my god, the graphics are amazing, or the snowy peaks with the mountain and everything. It's like they're not rendering any of that crap, right? It's like it's like an image. But you know what? The smokes and mirrors works really well because at the end of the day, it's just you fighting a monster, and everything around you is set dressing, right? And it's supposed to make you feel like you're in the environment. And if it does that, job well done. And like you said, with the loading areas, it allowed them to make maps feel much larger than they actually were because you'd have backgrounds that were completely different. You're like, wow, I just traveled up an entire mountain or something, but really
yeah, like
you
how
moved
how
a
Bandino
few feet.
said in the Bandino, because now I'm saying it like you did. How you said in the last podcast that like the
You know,
mountain in the ruined pinnacle was actually significantly higher than we gave it any credit for. The damn thing is huge. So it's like when
yeah,
you really think about it, oh, it just went like massive vertically. And it's all about the immersion of it ultimately. It's like the game's job is not to 100% convince you of how big an area is. It's about it being able to trigger that suspensive disbelief
Mm,
where you're enjoying the experience so much that you convince yourself of like, oh
yeah.
man, I just climbed up this massive mountain. It's crazy. But
Yeah, so I
yeah,
think that's missing a little bit. I think that's gone down quite a bit, but I think they've replaced it with enough good stuff
yeah.
that I think it just becomes a different type of good. Like being able to see everything going on for me adds to the immersion. No matter where I'm at, I can see what's going on in the distance. I feel like it's just one cohesive area, and there's like sub areas in there that where I can fight, but it feels like just one map, so to say.
Yeah.
Where World felt like there was just so much. It was so intricate, and there's like level 1, 2, and 3, the basement, and it was a little much. But it that had its own beauty as well. Like you were not only in an area, you were in an entire ecosystem, like a region, so to say.
Oh, but if we're choosing between World and Rise, I'm gonna have to go
Oh,
with
I'll choose
World.
Rise.
I'm gonna
All
have to-
right,
yeah,
there's the
I
split,
like
guys.
I like the maps and World a lot. I know that there's some people that don't as much, but I really like the maps in World. I thought they were amazing.
I
Like there was still
I would say
stuff.
I like them a lot. I like Rise more for what I
Yeah,
know about it, but I like them both.
yeah, but
I think
it's
I
fair.
just man, it's just
It's a personal preference
I think
thing
it's
ultimately.
it's the ancient forest map. That's the one that just leaves a sour taste in my mouth. It's that map is gorgeous,
Dude, I love
but
that map.
God, why is it so easy to get lost in that stupid tree?
That's the beauty
It
of
ticks me
it.
off.
That's the
I
beauty.
know.
And the first time that you drop rocks on top of a monster, it's so sad. Like it's so
I
good.
mean, it feels like a Dark Souls level. Everything intricate and leading into itself, and downstairs, upstairs, and if you don't have all the maps, it's going to take you 10 years to get to the top. And
Well,
even
there
the
you
scout
go.
flies don't know what they're doing. They're like, I don't know, go left. No, 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 go right. They don't know.
Yeah, the scout flies do get confusing as well. But dude, I mean, you can trigger a friggin' waterfall avalanche and drag a
Oh, it's
monster
it's
down the
it's
thing.
immersive as hell.
I love it.
The immersion's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the stuff about the maps. So then we have a couple of things about quality of life stuff that they
I
did.
was gonna say, now you've got. You know what I'm gonna have to do today? Now, thanks to you,
What you're gonna
I'm
have to
now
go read.
curious enough. I'm gonna have to go into a map and walk, not run, walk the perimeter of the entire thing to see how long it takes in the old games versus Rise, and I'm gonna see kilometers. Like, how is this
Are you
actually
gonna
larger,
factor
smaller, or the
in the
same?
loading screens? Because technically speaking, your character is traveling during the loading screens. It's not like it's instantly in the next area.
I would have to do both, with and without, and calculate and see, are the maps bigger or are they smaller? Now I'm curious. Thanks.
I'm
There
so
goes my there
sorry.
goes my afternoon. That could make for a fun video. Okay,
Okay.
sorry, I digress.
So no, it's fine. So the next thing, this is something that is not necessarily news, but they bring it up again, which is the fact that they're bringing a lot of quality of life stuff, and this is actually going to be a bit of a contentious point, I think, which is they're not bringing back the hot drinks. They talked about this during the interview, right? So for starters, I want to ask you something. If there's no hot drink, there's no cold drink, right?
Right.
I think
Of
that
course.
makes sense. Like this isn't
Yeah, but
officially
they haven't
confirmed.
officially announced the volcano yet, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
the fire area. So they can't. They're not gonna mention that if they haven't announced it yet. So yeah,
Yeah,
that
but
would
like
mean, yeah.
no hot drink, no cold drink either. I think that was pretty much a given. How do you feel about this? Did you make a video on this yet?
I did not make a video, but I made some statements on it.
Okay. I
So I
missed
think
it.
I never read this interview specifically, but I have seen all the anecdotes probably online, so I know about everything. So
Maybe.
I gotta say this: I understand the beauty behind the hot and cold drink, right? And I think my perspective on this entire thing, because I've thought about this a lot. Um, I think Monster Hunter has changed, right? Like in the older games, it was much more, I don't want to say simple, but like, and I don't want to say it was realistic, but there was a charm about Monster Hunter in that, unlike other action games at the time, you couldn't really run fast, you couldn't jump, you had stamina just like a real character in real life would have. If you run too much, you got exhausted. You wanted to fish, you needed a fishing rod. You wanted meat, you had to cook it. Like there was a level of immersion that was there that really made the world unique, and it had its own rules, and it felt believable in a way, right? And I think all those little things added to that. But I think through the years, if you compare footage and gameplay from older Monster Hunter games to more recent ones, it's been evolving the franchise more towards faster pace action, right?
Yeah.
So I think the game has been evolving and changing where, I mean, again, like in the old times, the hunter couldn't even jump or they couldn't fall down a small little cliff without like, ugh.
Yeah.
Now we can like run up walls and we can use clutch claws on monsters and stuff. So it's like the game has changed to the point that if I've got a hunter who can jump off a 500-foot wall, land on my feet and be fine, but yet if I don't have a little sip of a drink, I'm shivering, I'm losing my health, that makes no sense to me. So to me, that pushing this more towards the action fantasy and a little bit more away from that like slow paced life, almost like rustic feel of the old Monster Hunter games, I think feels fine. Only because they've evolved the franchise. If they took the old game and just removed the hot drink, cold drink, that would suck. Like that would ruin a lot of the immersion. But because they're moving it more towards action, I think it's fine. Whether you like that direction change or not is up to you. But I'm happy with the removal only because, like, I saw some comments I thought was interesting. It's like, okay, well, what's next? They're going to remove whetstones. Like, you no longer have to sharpen your weapon. Like, what's next? Like, is this going to be Bayonetta?
That's
And
exactly
so, like,
what I said. It was the whetstones
so,
and the meals. That was the not
so
the
then
meals, but like eating.
well, then I think
eating
about it,
meat.
right? Like, as an action game, sharpness has a huge role to play. There's pros and cons, reward versus risk, right? Do I keep attacking or do I take a break and I sharpen my weapon even though the monster's down and I could be doing damage? There's a risk and reward that you have to factor in with sharpness. Hot drink, let's say you have a hot drink, nothing changes. There's no plus at all. The game only penalizes you if you don't have it.
There was a
So it's
plus
like
in
it's not really
GU.
contributing.
There was a plus.
Hmm?
Like if you were in a hot area with hot blooded and you drank like a hot drink, you would
See,
actually get like,
you're talking about an armor skill that has nothing to do with a hot drink, though.
isn't it?
No, it's an armor skill that just happens to utilize that same system is just a
Exactly.
fluke, and it's not been. But the thing is, like in general, like in World or Iceborne, if you have a hot drink, then nothing bad happens to you.
So
Like you're able to play normal. Like
I have a bit of a
I don't know,
different
so I'm
I have a bit of a different view on it. Now, the and my voice is going for some strange reason, so I'm sorry for that. But
you
in
need a hot
the
drink.
yeah, I might. So in the God, I lost my train of thought.
So
we're
your
talking
thoughts
about
hot drink and cold drink.
hot drinks. Okay. So, oh yeah, the subtitle of this article, by the way, is what I wanted to bring up is more action, less prep. That is actually the subtitle of the whole article. More action, less prep. And the thing is, to me, one of the defining things about the Monster Hunter experience when compared to other titles is actually the preparation aspect of it, which actually brings another thing into play as well that I also want to pick your brain on, which is the fact that we can restock in missions. But we'll talk about that one in a bit. I just want to give you my point
that's
now.
another subject.
Because like the thing to me is like preparation before you head out on a hunt. That is a big part of Monster Hunter. So like going to your farm, getting like all of your items. Like I even told you I liked the way that they did it in Freedom Unite more, where you were actually there on each individual plot of land and putting down, okay, I'm going to put, a herb here and a blue mushroom there and a honey over here and all of these things. Like, I liked going to those elements and actually engaging with them. And I know that it's not necessarily something that you're going to be able to do in between every single hunt. It's not going to be super optimal, but still, some variance of that and what we have now, like somewhere in between the middle is, I think, where I would land. Cause like the preparation of the hunt itself, like you bringing in the hot drink because you're going to be fighting in a cold area. You're bringing in dash juice because you're playing with dual blades, or you're playing a monster that you're going to have to dodge a bunch of times. You're bringing in specific traps because this monster is, he's going to move around a lot and you need to have that trap there. Bringing in screamer pods because you're fighting Diablos. All of those things to me are a part of the hunt. Or in the case of, bowgun mains, deciding the ammunition that they're bringing, all of that stuff, and actually preparing. And that aspect of it is something that I really enjoy about Monster Hunter. Now, does that mean that like, oh, they removed hot drinks, I hate the game now? No, I'm gonna play it. Even if they remove sharpening, I'll still play it. But in the essence is like there was something there that I really enjoyed, and that now is seeing, it's kind of like moving away to make way for a more streamlined experience. Not necessarily in a bad way, because a lot of times streamlined is associated with negative connotation. That's not what I'm talking about. But like it just feels like there was something special in the preparation of the hunt, and now you can go into the hunt naked with no items, jump into your tent, refill all of your items, change your gear set. Say for instance, I bring dual blades into a Diablos fight, and then I realize, oh, this isn't working out. Let me go to the tent, swap into my lance set. Boom, here we go again. Right. So there's the fact that they're taking the drinks away and just making the whole thing about less prep. And then there's also the fact that you can restock all of your items in the middle of a hunt, which I also don't like. I didn't like that. And I mean, in World, I never really thought too much about it, I guess. But when we're talking about Rise, I was like, man, I hope they don't do that, because I liked it better the way it was before, where you had to do your prep work before you go into the hunt, and then you go into the hunt, because it feels more like a hunt and less like a boss fight.
Interesting. Yeah, there's two things I would love to share my thoughts. Is I love hearing your perspective on these. So the first one you were talking about with the hot drinks and the prep. One thing I want to note here is I also want to say that I think, like you were saying about the loading areas and the fake backgrounds, I think the reason why hot drinks and cold drinks worked is because how do you make an area feel like it's really cold? Well, you can make it look all blue and icy, right?
Yeah.
But that's not enough. But now we have your hunters shivering. They're cold. Their breath has the things. I have to drink a hot drink, and just the act of drinking the hot drink makes it feel like you're in a cold area.
It's more immersive.
It's part of the immersion. Yeah. So I totally agree with that part of it, and I do think that it's a little unfortunate to see that go. But as far as like item prep goes, one thing that I've noticed is that World is trying to embrace a new idea of prepping while in a hunt versus prepping before a hunt. So there's a lot of things that you can do during a hunt now, right? Because I think they realize that people in general did not explore maps, did not collect materials during a hunt because it was slow, it was laborious, and people just wanted to fight the monster. But now, because it's so fast and you basically can collect stuff on your way to a monster, I think collecting materials as you play is going to be a much more viable, more open thing. So that means that the item space in your item pouch is at a premium. And one of the things that annoyed me about over prepping with past games is that hot drinks and cold drinks takes up 2 slots in your item pouch. The same way that it annoyed me that pickaxes or bug nets. It was immersive because my hunter can't carry he's not a superhuman, he can't carry everything. He's not carrying his item box with him. But having less space in your item pouch means that you're going to have less incentive to go and pick up endemic life or pick up other items during a hunt. Now, you could say, okay, why don't they just make the item pouch bigger, right? Can you imagine trying to scroll through your items? It's already kind of crazy. You're like, like if they expanded that by another row, it'd be hell. I get that they have the radial menu, but not everyone uses it. It's just an option. So I think them removing that makes more sense to me because there's stuff that you pick up during a hunt. If they didn't have all that, then I'd be kind of like, what are they replacing it with,
I just think that there's like a medium somewhere in between where you can restock some of your items. So like say for instance in GU or in previous Monster Hunter games, if you've been like on a high rank quest for what was it 15 minutes, I think it was random, right? Between 15 to 30 minutes, they would send some supplies to you. I think that makes sense because like you're in the quest, you've been there for a while. Here's some more supplies, and you can go back to base and you can pick them up. You can restock. You can effectively restock. The difference is you don't have access to the entirety of your inventory. So I think there's a balance that could be struck there where you could potentially like select a couple of items that you would have as like your restock items. and then you would have your traditional inventory, and you can set that up however you want. And so you just wouldn't have access to the entirety of your
Yeah,
inventory.
so I mean, as far as the restock issues, I'm actually probably a little bit on the going in the opposite end of you. Actually, I started out that was actually on my wish list of things not to be in the next Monster Hunter game. I was kind of against the idea of being able to restock at camp because I was looking at areas where people were abusing it, and the fact that sticky ammo and being able to craft 800 sticky ammos during a hunt is gets kind of old seeing people
Yeah.
do it over and over and over again, or the fact that potions weren't even used, because why would I use a potion? I could just keep drinking max potions because I can make them infinitely, you know but I kind of came around on it. At first I was kind of against it. I was like, this is yeah. But then I started, I guess, realizing that I was not that passionately against it. It was something that, like, if I had a choice, I would say, yeah, I'd prefer no restock because I like the idea that when I drink a potion, I got to really think, do I want to have it now or later because I only have
Yeah.
a certain amount of potions? But I never felt strongly against it either way. Um, but if they're going to balance it so that the monsters hit harder or faster and it's easier to die anyways, then I don't know. I guess I've reconciled with the idea and I feel fine with it. And so I actually took it off my wish list because I realize that there's people who are very passionately against it, like really passionate. I don't know, maybe you are as well, but some people are like like it ruined Monster Hunter and like screw
Not
the
gonna
system, and
not gonna go
I
that
never felt
far.
like that. So I decided to distance myself from that crowd. I was like, I'm not going to mention this anymore because I don't feel that strongly about it.
I
Even though
mean,
I do lean towards it'd be better not to have it, I don't care that it's there.
I do feel strongly about it, but it's I don't feel strongly enough to say like, oh, this ruins the experience. I can't enjoy the game.
Yeah.
It's like no, it's I'm
You know
still
how some
gonna
people
play
get.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still gonna play it, like no matter what, because I know that I'm still gonna enjoy it. It's still Monster Hunter at the end of the day. But like, so now I want to get your perspective on something else, which is what about the crowd that just says, well, if you don't like it, just don't use it. What do you think about that? Because like
I
that I
think
definitely don't agree with.
I don't agree with that either. I think there's a thing of just having that option there changes the
Exactly.
dynamic of how you interact with the game.
Uh,
It's not only just psychological, it's psychological as well. Like there's a huge difference. It's like what I think we were having a conversation similar about this with the easy mode or something, right?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
the fact that it's not there changes your perspective, and having that pillow to land on, it's not the same. So I think even just knowing that I could, hey, you want an ancient potion? Come get it. Like just knowing that changes a lot.
It changed
So
because
it takes, I would say, the weight of your actions is less because there's not a lot of weight in drinking a max potion because you have more than two.
the reason I bring this up is because at one point in the interview that they're talking about more accessible, still challenging, and one of the things that they said is, if you want the hardcore experience, ignore both meals and endemic life entirely. And I'm like, well, what? It's just
Well,
like
ignore meals
it's.
is kind of like really no. Ignoring endemic, I can agree with the ignore endemic, right?
Here's the thing.
If they're not if they're not camping out the stamina and max health because we don't know yet.
No, but
If the meals
here's
will
the
allow you
thing,
to
because the idea here is if you want the hardcore experience, so it's like if you want to make if you want to have the hard mode difficulty, so it's almost like the same argument. It's like, well, if you don't like the fact that you can restock, then don't restock, right? It's like it's that same argument, but the
um,
options there, and
I
it's like
actually disagree here.
the endemic life thing is like, well, I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not. I might maybe not chase after it, but like if there's endemic life between me and the monster, I'm picking it up. Like if there's an advantage that I can get, why would I not do it? Right? Like there's one thing
So
which
I
is a challenge
mm,
run, and then there's one thing which is like I just want things to be harder. I don't want to necessarily do a challenge run where I'm running around naked, but I want to have like a harder experience. The
so this is
preparation
something I
side of it.
think may be lost in translation because they've talked about this concept in Japanese interviews and I've read their comments, and the vibe I'm getting is different. So the vibe that I'm getting when they talked about it in Japan in Japanese was that they're trying to tell people, look, we're opening up exploration in the world, and there's lots of incentives to go around and collect it, and you can micro buff your hunter, but we're not balancing the game with the consideration that you have to do that or you're going to be doing that. So don't worry about it. If you can interact with it as deep as you want, if you don't want to go run around the maps and collect stuff, that's not the base. That's not how we're balancing the game. So it's a plus if you do it, but you're certainly welcome to ignore it if you want to, and you're not going to be put at a huge disadvantage. Where that sounds like a complete opposite tone in which you're saying here in English, which is, you know, if you want the game to be easier, you can grab it. If you want the hardcore, you cannot grab it.
Yeah,
It
I
sounds like it's
didn't
missed in
think
translation.
I didn't think it made that much sense either. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's just they talk about this, and they said in Japanese as well. They talk a lot about the silkbind attacks, and they say that they've balanced the game in a way that you're not required to use them. It's just another great part of your arsenal, but they're not assuming that you know like maybe they could have. I'm not even talking coherently today. They could have did this. They could have said, look, silkbind attacks are super powerful, so we're going to balance the HP pool, assuming that players are going to utilize them, right? And at that point, then it's kind of like the clutch claw issue, right? If you don't use it, you are definitely at a disadvantage, and things are going to take much longer if they did that. But they didn't, right? So like they're everything's balanced in a way where it's an option, but it's not going to be necessarily the norm of how they design the game. So I don't know. I didn't read the English interview, but I take away something very different when I see the other ones.
staying on the topic of difficulty, I'm just going to read you directly the Ichinose quote for this next bit. We have scaled down the difficulty for village quests, so they should function as a good entry point for new players.
You know, when they did that, they did this before. Specifically, it was his game that they did this. Monster Hunter Portable Third. Monster Hunter Portable Third specifically, they made Village easier for people. There was a selling point. They mentioned it in interviews, and it is if you ever played it. You have. So
No,
maybe you noticed it. No,
I
okay.
never
Well,
played Portable Third.
so Portable Third, Ichino Seisan played with the idea that he wanted to have a more accessible village because because I mean, face it, the village is like you're alone. They want you to get you into the game, and then you go online and you get hardcore with it, right? So they made the village mode specifically easier in that game, and it worked out really well. The reception in Japan was fantastic, and even though the village was easier, people had a good time. And the thing is they did the same thing in Generations as well. They specifically lowered the health pool and stuff of monsters. They said we wanted to they said they tuned the village to be easier because they want to encourage experimentation. And if hunts took too long or they were too hard, then no one would really change up their styles or try other weapons or hunter arts, right? They wanted you to feel that you only the Japanese words come into my head. They want you to feel like you had the breathing space to experiment. So they tuned it to be easier. Where I think World and Iceborne was a departure, one because they didn't have a village; it was all one thing. They most obviously did not tune that thing to be horribly easy. It's not horribly hard either, but it's definitely not on the easier end because they assume that this is also the multiplayer quest as well. So to me, this is like business as usual. This is almost like what he always does on his games.
So I'm confused about one thing, which is you're saying GU made village quests easier. I would argue that in 4U, it was the easiest village quests that I've done. I would argue that village
Yeah,
in 4U was easier than village in GU. Minus the advanced
really,
quests, obviously. No, well, no,
huh?
not even that, because like the only advanced quests I've did were in GU, so never mind. Yeah, I would argue that for you, the village was much easier than GU. So I'm surprised with what you're
Interesting.
saying. Like I don't know if maybe it was the weapons I
I
was
mean,
using or
the main series team has never made a comment about the difficulty. I don't know what their deliberate choices were. Maybe they did the exact same thing for you. I don't know. They've never commented on it. Like the team that made 4 and 4U and 3 and 3, they never commented about we tuned the difficulty to be this or that. They've never I don't know what their thinking was. So maybe it's the same, maybe it was different, I don't know. but Ichinose-san has most definitely mentioned difficulty in both his last two games.
It's just the thing that concerns me is like, is it scaled down in comparison with World? Is it scaled down in comparison with GU? Because like I thought the GU ones were fine. I didn't think that the Village Quest in GU.
Well, GU they said was scaled down. Remember, that's what I'm saying. Is like
that's
GU. They said it's easier than the traditional Monster Hunter. So I think he's saying it in contrast to the main series titles. They're all main series, but what I mean is like the numbered ones. So like in comparison to World Iceborne, or compared to 3 Try or 4, it sounds like in general they tuned it to be more on the easier end, which is what he always does. So I'm not concerned about the comment at all.
It just feels weird. But ultimately what I said is like my take on this is like the end game of this is in the hub, so it doesn't matter. But I still like having a challenge while I'm going through. It's just a matter of like, I don't know what the basis for comparison is here. See, that's why I'm concerned. Because again, like for you felt fine, GU felt fine, World felt fine. So I don't know. I don't know which one they're talking about. Yeah. It's like we scaled down the difficulty. I mean, it just sounds
we don't know.
We made it easier, but I don't know in what aspect. What means, I don't know what it means. But I am concerned. Funny though,
like he could get on a megaphone and say the exact same comment to gamers here in Japan. I don't think anybody would even react to it. But when they say it in English, people are like, "Wait, what are you talking about? Difficulty and easy, difficult. What?" It's like I find that a little interesting.
To me, that might be a thing about me because like I just tend to like challenging games, right? So I like being challenged. And whenever someone says anything about, "Oh, we made this thing easier," I'm like, "What? Why?" what do you mean you made it easier? It needs to be hard, so that people make fun of me when I fail. I think you nailed
it though. Like we have no idea to relation to what it is. So I think, is there cause for concern? I would say no, only because he has a history of making these comments on his games that we've played, and we've never played them and said, "What the hell is this? This is way too easy. Like this is not fun." So I don't think that there's much precedence to be concerned. However, like you said, we don't know. We really got to play the game because we have no context at all for that comment. So we'll wait and see. But I'm not going to worry about it or lose sleep over it by any means.
Okay.
Now I hope that adds any type of context to that. I don't know, but
this next one, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a negative reaction to. You have to have because of a previous conversation we had. If you don't have a negative reaction to this one,
I don't think I know what you're about to say, and I think I'm going to disappoint you,
dude.
But go on for it.
You need to have. I'm going to be mad because, like, considering what we talked about. Okay, I'm going to read you the direct quote again. One reason for players to stick with the same weapon was always the fact that it takes much time to upgrade weapons, which is why we decided to significantly reduce the amount of materials necessary to upgrade weapons for Rise. Emphasis on significantly reduce.
Oh, I have the emphasis on a different word here. Upgrade.
So?
Okay, so I'm going to disappoint you. So I'm happy about this. But I have to explain because it makes no sense in the context of everything we've talked about.
Okay.
Right? So let me explain. Again, I don't have the Japanese for this interview, so I don't know what he said specifically. But the way I've always viewed this is that Monster Hunter has very clearly identified an issue with the game design when it comes to the upgrade system that they've been trying to solve for like the last 4 games. This is the way I see it, right? So crafting a weapon and upgrading a weapon to me is very different. Crafting a weapon, like you're making the first, let's say the Rathalos charge blade, is going to take a significant amount of Rathalos materials. It's a big part of the game. It's an achievement, right? It's a milestone. However, upgrading that thing, so like when you move in from like 3-star to 4-star to 5-star, you want that thing to get stronger, right? But the upgrades have always been a little bit tedious because the upgrades themselves require a lot of materials and or rare materials. So the first time I saw them try to tackle this, what I think is also kind of an issue because people just never played other weapons because it was just too much of a pain in the ass to make the same weapon again and then upgrade it over and over again is in Generations, they introduced the idea of the point system, which greatly dumbed down the requirement for up. They also added in a bunch of micro upgrades, which kind of balanced it out. But they added in the idea that if you made your let's just say Rathalos Charge Blade as the example, and you want to upgrade it to be a little bit stronger because you progressed in the game, they would say, okay, we want 15 points of Rathalos materials and then this one item. And you can use any Rathalos item you want to pay towards that cost of the upgrade. It didn't matter, but each one had different, values. So a rare material would allow you to upgrade faster, or you can just use a lot of really bad materials, and it was fine. And I think that's one way that they try to tackle it. Now, the reason I think in World, I think they saw the same issue. That didn't help. It was still a lot. They had way too many micro upgrades. It was still costly and it was intensive. So what they did in Iceborne in World to incentivize you, let's say you made a Rathalos Charge Blade, but now you want to try the Rathalos Sword and Shield. It's kind of a pain in the ass to make it, right? Well, now in World and Iceborne, they allowed you to downgrade and upgrade for a weapon, and it gave you back every single material that you used, which you could then use to craft the same weapon or the same monster's other weapon. And then you could do this over and over again, right? You can literally create like an iron charge blade and use it and then go, okay, I want to use insect glaive. You can downgrade it and use all those materials to make the insect glaive. So they made it infinitely easier to get back your materials because I think they realized there was an issue. So to my eyes, in my opinion, is that upgrading has always been a stick point for people not trying the same way that we had like Gunner armor versus Blade Master. People they grind Tigrex all day and they make their Blade Master armor. Now I say, oh, you want to try out a light bowgun? Oh, now you got to grind out Tigrex again to make the exact same set, but for a Gunner type. That was a pain in the ass. And for a lot of reasons, people just did not try Gunner weapons because, hey, I don't have any Gunner armor. So they fixed that. And now I think they're trying to attack the upgrade system. I have no problems with this at all, given that context and my understanding that they're talking specifically about upgrades, not crafting.
I don't.
Does that make sense to you or no?
Yeah,
or do
yeah,
I seem like a hypocrite?
No. It makes it makes sense. It's like here's the thing. I can kind of see where you're coming from because of the fact that it is only the weapons. Because I remember one complaint that you had is like, oh, investigations. You get like these 3 gold investigations. You go and you do 2 hunts and boom, you're done. You got all of the stuff.
You're done. Yeah.
For everything. This is only going to affect the weapons. Now, I don't necessarily agree with making it easier because of the fact that to me, it was never the amount of time that it would take me to upgrade a weapon that kept me from playing different weapons. It was more so, am I willing to put in the time to master this other weapon? Am I going to be playing this other weapon on the same level that I play my main weapon? That's my main concern. It's like, I don't mind investing the time to craft like a beastly switch axe if I'm going to be playing it on the same level that I play a gun lance. Like, that's not a problem for me. I actually enjoy it. I enjoy the process of like, oh, I have an objective. I'm going to go hunt this monster, do this thing. Now, in World, there was a very big problem here. And the name of that problem is Tobi Kadachi. Because it doesn't matter what weapon you want to craft. 6 times out of 10, it's going to involve low rank Tobi Kadachi materials. That is a problem.
The upgrades, the weapon tree had a major issue. Like Yuna wants to make an ice bow, but she doesn't want to because she has to. There's like this huge back catalog of crap that she has to do just to get there, and she's like, "I'm not doing that.
Here's the thing. It's not even about the back catalog that I have an issue with because I don't mind going back and killing monsters. The biggest problem is that a significant amount of weapons that I need to craft, because like I'm put in my head, I still want to craft all of the gun lances and all that stuff. And it just seems to me like I have to kill Tobi Kadachi an unreasonable amount of times more than any other monster, specifically low rank and high rank Tobi Kadachis, and I have to break his legs to get the claws. And like that is the biggest problem that I had with it in World. Because like if it was more varied. Like if I could, oh, go kill a Puke Puke for this weapon, go kill a Tobi Kadachi for this one, go kill a Rathalos for this one, a Rathian for, I don't mind. You give me variety. I
Yeah.
don't mind grinding. The thing that bothers me is grinding the same monster over and over, which is the same reason why I got burned out
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Kulta Roth and on Safi Jiva. It's because the same monster over and over and over.
Yeah.
Like if I can hunt different monsters, like I'm having fun. I don't care. So like it doesn't bother me how long it takes to upgrade a weapon. I never thought that was a problem. It's always about, am I willing to put in the time to master this weapon, to actually be good at playing
Yeah.
this
I
weapon?
think, I mean, yeah.
That's what keeps me
I
from
think
doing
that's
it.
certainly, that makes sense. But I do think that there is a good amount of people who the labor is a wall enough. They won't even consider it because everything they have, like to start, they have to start from zero again. Like, why would I do that? Like, and I can see where people, once they get certain points in the game, just the amount of labor that they can imagine it takes, even though they've already done the work, I could see it being an off point for them. Another thing, and this might be my wishful thinking here, because I've been called stupidly optimistic before,
No.
is that I feel that Ichinose-san is trying to battle the inflation that has occurred in the game system, which is to say, World and Iceborne had huge inflation in everything because they wanted you to, they microed everything, right? Micro upgrades, micro augments, micro this,
Yeah.
this, that. And so like they had to balance it by giving you ways to get tons of stuff. So like the investigations, which I hate, they pay you out like so many more materials than a normal quest because everything in the damn game requires those materials, whether it be Tobi Kadachi or whatever. I think if they just reduced the amount of inflation needed for all that kind of stuff and made it a little bit more simple, we'd have more meaningful hunts
I'd
and maybe more
actually
experimentation.
I'd actually be pretty happy not seeing weapon augmentations come back.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't care. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a few micro things at the very end of the game to just for the fact that we know that you can't perfectly balance 30 end game weapons for, let's say, one weapon type, right? So if there's a little bit of micro customization that we could do, let's say there's a weapon that has a little less raw, but we can give it higher affinity so that every weapon in some way can be viable, I would be okay with that.
Oh,
So
I'm all for more weapons being viable. As a Gunlance main, let me tell you, 80% of my tree was trash.
I got a radical idea I was thinking about actually when it comes to the Gunlance, the sidetrack for a little bit here. I was kind of curious and I haven't thought deeply about this. What if Gunlance worked like bowguns? What if, depending on the rarity of the weapon, you can then choose, okay, I'm going to change this into a wide level 4. I'm going to change this into a normal level 4. And you had like a choice. And there was a give and take for each one that you chose. Maybe wide level 5, but it had less raw. Wide level 4 has a slightly higher raw. And like there was a balance. Would that be an interesting change or not?
So you're saying sacrificing shelling damage in favor of raw damage? That I'm not.
Or something
I
like,
don't. That I
yeah,
don't like.
I haven't thought deeply about this.
I don't like sacrificing shell damage. But in regards to the other thing that you were saying, being able to balance other aspects of it. So, like for instance, being able to, swap around the different shelling types. So, like here's this gun lance that is not particularly good in wide, but if you swap it to long, then it becomes really good. Like that is interesting. Being able to swap the shelling styles is very, very appealing, and that's something that a lot of people have talked about. I would be even more interested in something that's probably not going to happen. It was brought up by Chaos Slayer, which was the unification of the shell system, where basically like
Mm,
every gun lance would have the same shelling style, and that would basically allow you to use everything in the gun lance. Whereas right now, if you go one style, you're missing out on something. You're always missing out on
I
something.
see.
But
Yeah.
it's like I don't think they're going to go that route. They're still going to have different shelling styles, but being able to swap them around would be cool. That I would like. And also, I would like being able to, customize certain things, like you were saying. Just, maybe this weapon has more affinity. This one has less raw. That would be good. It's like they've done that in previous games. The problem is that usually they do that in a way where no, this weapon's just garbage now. Like you look at certain weapons, like for instance the Anjanath gun lance. No, this is just trash. Okay, like get this away from me. I don't even want to look at it.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but
I mean, but yeah, but I guess sorry I sidetracked us, but I guess my final take is just
I think the
yeah,
best way
I
that
guess I've
they've
already
done
said
it,
yeah.
the best way that they've done it, in my opinion, is actually GU with the
I
materials
loved
stuff.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the way that they did it in
So
GU
good.
is very good because a lot of the times, if you've already farmed the monster before, maybe you don't
You've got
have
tons of crap materials, yeah.
like I've been in a situation where, for instance, I've had very little of the common material, but I have a ton of the rare one. And it's like it's very
Yeah,
nice to
yeah,
just
yeah.
be able to like, yeah, dude, here, have some wings or something.
Yeah.
Have like I think I've even used like mantles. Yeah, just use this mantle. Pfft, I don't care. I got like 7 of them.
Yeah.
Like, what do I care? It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I think that was my favorite upgrade system of them all, but I did see a lot of comments from people saying it was a little too obtuse for them. It was a little confusing, so I can see maybe why they're not doing that again, but I love the idea. But if they're going to battle that by just saying, "Okay, we're just going to lower like make the weapon will be a chore, but everything else like upgrading it should not be horribly that bad." On the surface level, I feel okay with it, but it's another one of those things that we have to see it implemented in the game to really get an idea of how severe are we talking? Is this for the better, the bad? I don't know because for everything they take away, they're probably adding something. I imagine.
I
So
I guess the one thing that I'm not even sure I caught this on the first time that I looked at it, but like the thing is, it's weapons. Armor's still the same.
yeah,
Weapons is the main change.
yeah.
Now the
By
last,
simply combining Blade Master and Gunner together, they do
yeah,
a huge service of
but that one
encouraging
I'm in
cross weapon
favor. By
play.
the way, that one I'm very much in favor because yeah, I was one
Yeah,
of the people I never tried Gunner because it's one thing to go get like 2 or 3 more materials to upgrade the weapon. It's another thing completely to just craft a whole new armor set. Like hey, not even I'm that hardcore. Jesus. So the last thing that I took out of the interview here was when asked the best weapon to start with, Ichinose says the sword and shield used to be his standard answer, but the weapon has evolved so much that it has become difficult to recommend as a starter option. And then his quote is, I think that the longsword might have become the best weapon for beginners, as you can easily deliver a good flow of attacks by simply pressing the buttons while not having to master how to block. And I was just like, yes, finally, I told you guys the sword and shield is super complicated. God damn it.
yeah. It's evolved quite a bit, hasn't it? So
Yeah.
it's not exactly the easiest weapon to pick up. There's just a little too much in the bag that they've keep adding over the years.
Which I think is
It's
great.
it's
Like that weapon is so much fun to play. Like I'm actually indecisive again. Like the other day, I just started playing Sword and Shield a little bit into demo, and I'm like, God damn it, I'm falling in love with this weapon all over again. Stop! They're both
well,
so
now
good.
I really need to stay away from the Insect Glaive and Rays only because I've been playing it again in Iceborne and I really got to get out of this habit of using it. I know it's like my recent main, but I got to stop it. Like
It's your comfort
smack
weapon.
myself.
It's your
So
comfort
I
weapon,
think
dude. It feels good.
and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do switch axe, but I did that all through generations. That was my comfort weapon. I'm like, why do I keep coming back to my comfort weapons?
Yeah, listen. You just got to play Gunlance. Okay, it's easy. There you go.
No,
Why not?
I think light bow gun might be it. I'm
No,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know
no, no,
yet.
no, no. Listen, Gunlance. Okay, one of us. One of
No, you're gonna kill me here.
It's
Is
fine.
there any other interesting things from that interview?
I mean, there might be
I'm
some more stuff, but these are just the topics that I picked
yeah.
for my video at that
But you didn't
point.
see that one coming, did you? The fact that I would
I
at a
was
surface level, I'm okay with that.
I was very surprised, particularly because you're just like, oh man, these investigations, they're not fun. They're just like,
I
So
hate them.
yeah.
Showering me with rare materials like crazy. But the only reason why is because they inflated everything. There's so much micro shit that it's just like God. Yeah. You know what I want to see though, and I'm desperate. I think we've talked about this. Obviously, we've talked in length about craftable decos versus RNG decos, but I want to see this. What I'm seeing is like the deflation of stuff. I want to see that happen to armor skills. I really,
Yes.
really want to see that. I want to see 5 skills, maybe 6 tops at the
End
most. I
game.
don't
End
want,
game. That's like an
yeah,
end
game. I'm
game
talking
min maxing.
mid game should have like 3,
Yeah.
like 3 skills
I
mid game.
completely
Like
agree.
I want that back.
A lot of people are going to be like, what the hell are these friggin' boomers over here? Like, what the hell?
I know.
It's like, you guys don't understand that when there's so many skills that you can get, you're always going to end up
There's no
picking.
weight to any of them.
Yeah. It's like you just grab all of the important ones and boom. And then you start to think about your build. Whereas if you don't have access, so say for instance, if you have access to like 5 skills, you're going to go get weakness exploit, critical boost, critical eye, maybe challenger, depending on the weapon that you're using, or attack. Like that's 4 of your skills already. And you're always going to want to get these because they're like the most important things. If instead of that, you have access to like 3. Imagine you just have access to 3. It becomes a much more interesting decision because like, well, am I going to do weakness exploit, critical boost, and critical eye? And there's going to be a mathematically best solution. But like if you're using a weapon that has a couple of comfort skills, then you're like, but maybe I can do better if I use the comfort skill. So like if I'm playing gun lance, maybe I can do better if I use evade extender and artillery instead of thinking about critical eye, weakness exploit, critical boost, which are always like the 3 that kind of just like seem to come on. And a lot of times having less is more, and it will get you to question your choices and experiment with different things more. Because you can't have everything in one build. I still do
like
more
speed
builds.
sharpen actually matters.
Yeah, I still do more builds in GU at this point than World. You want to know why? Because I can have literally any skill I want in World by just equipping the Fatalis set. It might as well give +8 to everything.
Yeah, and it's not just even Fatalis though. Like even other sets as well. It was just way. It was frontier levels of crazy. It's like I don't need that much of micro stuff. I just want it to be more simple, like it used to be.
Yeah.
So I have faith in my man Ichinose-san, man. I got faith in him. So I'm hopelessly optimistic about this game, and people are probably like looking at especially if they started with just World and Iceborne, they're probably like, this seems so drastic. What are they doing? Like. This doesn't seem horribly drastic to me.
Not really. I mean, after you've played GU, it doesn't seem that drastic at all. GU did some really
what was
crazy
drastic
stuff.
was World and Iceborne. That was drastic.
I mean, particularly Iceborne, I feel like the Clutch Claw was kind of a big deal, and the way that they've implemented which each of the weapons and how it did stuff in their moveset. But still, I still think
Yuna loves the Clutch Claw.
I still think that GU is like the most outlandish monster hunter out there, straight up, because of like the styles, the hunting hearts, and all of that stuff. Really, really fun. So I figured
Yuna loves the Clutch Claw. She's figured it out, so she's a fan.
I mean, here's the thing: the Clutch Claw is one of those things that it goes through phases.
You love it first.
It's like First, you love it. You're like, oh my God, I can slam monsters into walls. This is the best. I can slam monsters into each other. This is the best thing ever. And then after a while, you're like, man, it's like, particularly when
then
you
go to the Gaijin lands, and then you realize that they've tuned the game. This is what I was talking about, the tuning part.
Yeah.
They've tuned it, assuming that the norm is that you're using it.
Pretty much.
That is the biggest mistake they made.
There's no escaping the Clutch Claw in Iceborne if you want to be optimal. You don't have to play it optimally, so but there's no escaping it.
Fucking forever. Oh.
Yeah, and in some hunts it will take you forever if you're not using the Clutch Claw. So that's the thing. But as I was saying, there are phases in it, right? Because the moment that it clicks for you, you're just like, oh man, Clutch Claw is the best. This is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then later down the line, particularly when fighting some of the faster monsters that don't have a lot of Clutch Claw openings, then you're like, I hate this thing. Because it starts becoming one of those things where you look at your map, is the eye red? No, it's yellow. Clutch Claw time. And it doesn't matter if there's an opening or not. You're going to be trying. You're going to be trying to go for that wall bang because
the
I need the wall bang.
Changes everything.
Yeah, temporal and
rocksteady mantle need to disappear and never come back. They need to go in the garbage can.
Yeah, it was too powerful. To give you an idea, my set, my last Fatala set even has the tool specialist, so that I can use the mantles even more often, just to be even more broken. Just be completely busted. Like that's what I was doing. I'm just running around tool specialist. Don't give a damn. Let's go.
Yeah, Divine Blessing level 5 hit me. I don't care. Oh man.
Yeah, there's a lot of utility skills that you can slot in there. So
You know what I'm disappointed though is like you would think that Rise was like all for Japan. We're not getting any of these interesting sneak previews in Japan. We don't have any of these cool interviews. They're doing all this for the West. Like Japan is getting like nothing.
They already know. They
I'm really
already know
surprised.
that Japan is going to buy it no matter what. So
Yeah, they're not. They're trying very hard to convince the Western market. It's like you want to play this game too. Trust me.
yeah, exactly.
Japan's they're on
I
board.
mean, Japan is 100% on board because it's another portable one. The West is the ones that need to be convinced that, hey guys, the portable one is fun too, because I do see a lot of resistance. Like I see a lot of resistance, and you know, it is what it is. Some people are not going to pick it up, and you know, some people are going to wait for the next thing from the other team that
The
did
consoles
World
and
and
stuff, yeah.
and Iceborne. And that's fine too. I mean, not everybody has to enjoy a portable Monster Hunter, but
Yeah, Yuna said two things to me that was really interesting as she's been playing Rise and Iceborne back to back, because I don't have the perspective that she does, because I know the games too well. But she said she was commenting the other day when we were walking outside. We go for night walks, and she was saying that she likes that they're so different. She's like, one of the reasons why I said, hey, do you want to get Mario 3D World? And she's like, Mario game? No, I've played Mario before. Like to her, they're all the same.
yeah.
Like the core system is the same, which isn't necessarily true. Of course, we know that, and I will teach her the ways. But I understand why she feels that way. Same with Pokemon and games like that. Like they're not vastly different from the previous entries.
No, but
where
Pokemon is literally
like-
always the same though.
Yeah, but she's like, you know, we got Clutch Claw, we've got these huge lush environments. She's like, it just plays different. She's like, I love how different it feels, that they have their own personality.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's exactly what I love about it as well, is that they're just so different.
Yeah.
And she was mentioning, she's like, but I gotta say, damn, is Iceborne gorgeous.
Yeah, the visual it's hard to ignore the visual side of it, particularly, you know, if you've played it on your Series X or on your PC with
It's a
max visuals.
beautiful game.
It's a looker. It's a looker of a game.
Mm-mm.
It might not be like
So
the best looking game in consoles, because you know usually the first party titles tend to take those, right? But it looks damn good. And it animates so well. The animations is always what does me.
Yeah, so she appreciates Iceborne for all the wonderful things it does, which I like.
So I figured we would wrap up today's podcast with a couple of community topics that I still have left over from like 3 podcasts ago. Because guys, I don't forget,
gosh.
I typed these down and they stay here until I address them.
Until you could take them off.
That's
They're on my
how it
item
works.
action list.
So you mentioned Frontier briefly. I know that you didn't play too much of that one, but I believe this is a
Almost
monster. This is a monster from there, and someone was asking if you, specifically you, believe that this monster might come to Monster Hunter Rise. The name of the monster is Yamatsukami. Do you even know what it is?
I mean, Yamatsukami is from Freedom Unite.
Is it?
I think you got the name wrong. There was a variant in Frontier. Yamatsukami is the one from.
When I looked up
Freedom Unite.
Yamatsukami, I think it showed up a Frontier one, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, Frontier is a different one.
So
let me find the name.
Yamatsukami is like there's a circular arena, right? And there's this little green dude right in the
That's
middle.
the big little
that's from
octopus-thingy
Frontier.
island thing.
No, I mean that's from Freedom
Huh?
Unite.
Yamakudai is the one from Frontier.
Oh, I don't know what. For some reason, I thought that this one. I saw the image and I thought it was from Frontier. But what do you think?
Yeah,
You think
and
Yamatsukami might come back?
Yamatsukami came from second generation, and Yamakudai is actually a variant of it that came afterwards. So this is not a Frontier monster.
Okay, I thought it was. It
I
was
think it'll
my
come-
mistake.
Do I think it'd come back? No. Only for the idea that I'm sorry. It's a cool, weird monster, but
I love how you're just like, do I think it'll come back? Nah. Next question. Just crush the poor dude's hopes.
well, the problem with the monster, and there's like only one way to fight the damn thing because the way they designed it, right? Like it floats in the air, so you can't hit it. You can't fly in the air and fight it because it's Monster Hunter. So all it can do is it can hover downwards and you can fight it. And so there's almost no room for depth in gameplay beyond.
I mean, but now you have the
it was
wire
okay
bug.
for the portable games. So you're just gonna. How is he gonna hit you? You're just gonna be jumping all over him, and I just don't see it working in with the system. I mean, maybe if they completely re-envisioned the monster and he was like Zora
Kinda like
Maximus, so you could
Fatalis?
climb on him and you
Oh.
could stab him and do stuff like that. That'd be cool. I love the monster and I think it's cool.
Okay.
But it just seems like it's a lot of labor to bring back just that one monster. You would have to make its own stage, its own system, its own everything. Why, if you're going to put that much effort, why not just make a new monster that's better tailored towards, let's say, Rise? You know, I don't know. I'm sorry. I like the monster a lot. I don't ever really see it coming back, probably ever. So it would be nice though.
Okay. So this next question is, name 3 of your favorite non-Elder Dragon monsters. I will start to give you time to think.
I've made a video on this.
Oh, you already have it? Oh,
Yes.
okay, then go right ahead.
Yes, the thing I don't have is my top 5 elders. I have top 5, but I've never talked about them in a video.
Okay.
But I have a specific video that covers, at least it changes a little bit, but I think they're always in my top 7, so I consider them my top 5.
Okay, but
But
it's just
in
3.
no-
You don't have to say 5, just 3.
Yeah. So Molten Tigrex. I said Tigrex again. Tigrex. Molten Tigrex is definitely
The correct pronunciation is
it's not an old
Tigrex.
dragon. I know. Bloodbath Diablos is my number 1 favorite.
Ooh.
Out of all the non-elders, he is my favorite hunt in all of Monster Hunter to this point. Second favorite, maybe I don't know if it goes in order, but Molten Tigrex. Fuck it, I'll just say Tigrex. Molten Tigrex. Rare species Tigrex. There you go. Tigrex Kishoshu. I love him to death. And Savage Devil Joe. I don't know if you notice a theme here, which is monsters that are just insanely aggressive and in your
Extremely
face
violent, yeah.
I really enjoy those because it feels like a cage match. Like I grew up in the old days of like they probably still do it, but like WWF and like the caged arena fights. That's what it feels like. You're in there and like they're constantly coming at you, and they're monsters that really embrace their concept of who they are, and I love that. So those guys are always on my list.
Okay.
I have other favorites as well, of course. And there's a lot of monsters I love, but those 3 come up a lot.
So my 3 favorite non-Elder Dragon monsters. Number 1 with a bullet, Seething Basil Goose. Explosions on top of explosions on top of a massive nuclear strike. I love it. I just friggin' loved it. I also really like the original Basil.
That would be, if I revise my list, he'd be on there as well because he's the same idea. He's super hyper aggressive, and man, is he a spectacle, isn't he?
Yeah, I just love him. Like, I really love the original Basil, but it was kind of annoying to fight a little bit, and he was also very predictable. Like every time he goes like, and he did that a lot. And you're just
moves,
like,
right?
flash pod. Like this one, on the other hand, drops the purple bombs that are bigger and explode and clusters and
all over the place.
And then he has the one where he just like spins into the air, throws bombs everywhere, and then just like dives down. Mega. Love it.
Yeah.
Friggin' love everything about it. So Seething Basil Goose.
That's it. That's in Yuna's top 3 as well. She loves that fight.
Yeah. Seething Basil
so
Goose.
Much fun.
Amazing. My favorite monster of all time. And bonus points.
Nice choice, though.
He has one of the coolest, in my opinion, potentially even the coolest looking armor in the whole game. Seething Basil Goose
Damn.
Alpha Male is beast. And I say male specifically because I don't think the female looks particularly as good. But like the male version of Seething Basil Goose Alpha is so good. I love it. So it's not only I love the monster, I also love his armor. The one thing I'm not a huge fan of is the weapon, because the weapon is a little bit bits on sticks, but it's still one of the best looking bits on sticks though. So, it gets a bit of a pass there. The other one, I mean, this one's going to be just like straight up cliche. I even named my gaming rig after him. It's Rathalos. I love Rathalos. Like you can call it a basic bitch pick, but I love Rathalos. It's you can even call it my comfort monster, because at this point you can usually fight a Rathalos pretty easily if you've played these games long enough. But I just feel like he's a really well designed monster. He's red, which is one of my favorite colors. He can do some pretty cool stuff, so I just like him. Particularly Dread Queen.
Can't knock that.
Did I say Dread Queen?
King.
Particularly Dread King.
Or as we like to call him, Spam Lord.
Yeah, but it's like Dread King more in terms of looks than necessarily the fight. Let's put it like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
But and then finally
Number 3.
Atalka.
I know, is it Kezu?
Atalka.
It's not Kezu.
I love Atalka.
This isn't fair, because I still have in my mind that
he's
like,
an Elder Dragon.
With the Elder
He's
Dragons,
not.
because it's like the end game boss, but she's not. She's an not an arachnid. What am I saying? I forget the name. She's a mantis.
Yeah, It's so good. Atalka is so good. I know.
I want Atalka to be back. I really desperately want to see Atalka come back.
Man, imagine Atalka. Atalka is so good.
What if she could use her? Can you imagine she uses a soak to pick up a hunter and then swing them around at you
and throw them,
hit you with other hunters? The higher your defense is, the more damage it does to the other player, because you have harder armor on.
Or if you have like a shield, like if you're a lance user, a gun lance user,
you can KO people.
If you're a gun lance user, she triggers your wyvern fire when she throws you. No.
Oh my gosh.
And then the final one was, if you could pick one Elder Dragon to return in Rise, which one would it be? You want me to go first?
I was gonna say Atalka, but she's not an Elder Dragon. Can we temporarily classify her as an Elder Dragon just so we can get her back?
Cheater. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go. I haven't thought about this one, so go for it.
Duran Moran.
Oh, okay. I had a stop for a second. I didn't know. We pronounce things so differently that I didn't.
Is it Daren Moran? Daren Moran?
Yeah,
is that better?
Daren Moran. Yeah.
Daren Moran. Like it's mostly because I really like the idea of being on the boat.
So explain to me, why choose Daren over Jen? Why do you want Daren over Jen?
Which game was Jen on?
Try and 3U.
Yeah, I never.
4U was Daren.
I don't think I fought Jen.
They weren't that horribly different, if memory serves.
Yeah, so it's like I picked Daren because I fought Daren at the start of 4U and at the end of 4U, and I never played. I did fought Sia. I fought Sia Dios, so I should have fought Jen as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I did fight Jen, but I don't remember him.
They probably in your memory, they're the same monster in your memory, probably.
It's probably that.
One has the two horns coming out from the one, and the other one's just a pointy snout.
Yeah, the one that I remember is the pointy snout. That's Daren. Yeah. So it's just, that's the one that I remember. And it also, because that fight, the first time that you do it, which is not when you kill him, the Caravanier's there, and I really like the Caravanier as well, and he's got a cool hat, so Daren just stuck a little bit more. But yeah, Daren, because I just really like the idea of fighting something while you're moving, Like it just adds a couple of different things, and it is also one of those fights that I think works better if you have somebody else there with you. It's a multiplayer fight, very much in
Yeah.
the same vein as Zora. But like, if I could pick one, I'd pick them to redo that fight again and like maybe change it around like they did Fatalis or something, make it even more interesting. Because I
Yeah.
like that, and that reminds me of another game from Capcom that I really enjoyed, which is Lost Planet 2, that has a lot of those fights. Where basically you're in a transport vehicle and it's got cannons and you have to fire at big giant monsters. So yeah, I'd love to see Darren come back.
Okay, this is gonna sound like a really boring answer, but I agree. Honestly, the first thing that hit my mind was it was that or Dalamadur. But the thing is
I never
the thing
fought
that I like
Dalamadur.
more. Dalamadur is really fun, but the reason why I would like to see Genmaran or Darmaran, either of the two, return more is because it's got the like Dalamadur is basically you're on the snake or you're not. And the snake was so large that it was basically okay, am I going after the head? Am I going after the spikes on the back, or am I going after the arms and or the tail? And you split it up and you did it. And it was a really great hunt. But Gen has the things that you were talking about, which is you've got the gameplay when you're on the ship is totally different from the gameplay for when you're on the monster.
Yeah.
You've got the whole idea of like I can see my comrades over on the boat hitting it. And I can be like, they'll warn me like, okay, I'm about to hit it. Watch out, man. You're gonna go flying. So it's like, okay, I'm ready. Go for it. Boom. They hit the gong and like everything goes flying. Then you've got like, the part you can mine the monster. And
Yep.
it's a big enough monster that it feels like a spectacle, but it's small enough that I can see where I'm at all times, and I can the whole picture's in my head. Where Dalamadur is so big that you kind of lose track of what's going on the other end of the arena because you're focused only on what's in front of you, which is kind of cool. But if I had to choose, yeah, the Morans for sure. I love them to death. I would love to see them come back.
Yeah, they're coming
Like, can you
back,
imagine
guys.
they get so
guaranteed.
far away from the boat? Can you imagine they get so far away from the boat that you can get on it if you're really good at using the wire bugs? That you can jump over and get on them, and like finally the insect glaive can like point its finger at everybody saying, I can jump on the monster anytime.
Yeah.
It's over there. Shrink, 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 shrink. Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm-
That's a damn good pick. That's the best pick.
Oh man, that makes me so happy, guys. It's guaranteed, like because Capcom watches this podcast every single
Yes.
week. Like
We both say that we want it. That's coming back.
They're taking notes right now. They're like, add the
Darmaran
Ran.
That'd be a good monster. Like Chameleos I want back, but I kind of already feel like it's gonna be back. So I don't
Yeah.
to me it's kind of like a freebie at that point. But yeah, oh man, the Morans. Did I ever tell you that the whole like Jen Moran is the reason why I bought Monster Hunter and got into it for the first time? Anyways, I actually thank my entire Monster Hunter career thanks to that monster.
Interesting.
So when I discovered, I decided to try Monster Hunter after listening. I have a lot of friends at 8-4, which is a localization team in Japan that does a lot of localizations, and they have 8-4 Play, which is their podcast. And they were on there talking about, because they did the localization for the English version of Monster Hunter Tri. And they were talking about their memories of the game, and they were describing the Gen Moran battle. And I heard it, and I said, I want to know what this is. This sounds exciting. And it got me really interested. And so I looked it up on YouTube or whatever, and I was like, I want to try that. So that when Monster Hunter 3U was announced, I said, or 3G, I'm like, I'm going to give this an honest shot. So it was honestly their conversation about Gen Moran that got me to decide to buy the game, to got me into it. So Gen Moran is OG, man.
Oh,
it's such a hunt.
It is. It is a really good hunt. It is a really good hunt.
I'm kind of curious. Like, I don't tell me if you know. I'm just going to say this as a thing out loud because we don't want to spoil stuff for people. I'm curious whether or not Gen Moran's in the Monster Hunter movie. Only for the fact that we saw the sand ships and everything. And I know there was an interview with Anderson where he was talking about something like the Gen Hunt. And he was like, oh, it's like this big spectacle thing. I'm like, I'm sure anybody who sees that is like in love with it. But I mean, the movie comes out digitally in like a week. I think February 16th, the movie comes out.
About time I get to watch that thing. I don't know if it comes out here digitally. I hope it does.
It comes out in Japan theaters on March 26th. So I was thinking to myself that I would just buy it digitally and watch it. But now Yuna saw an advertisement for it, and she's like, "We're gonna go see this movie, right?"
In the theaters? Dude, I haven't
in the
been to the
theaters. Yeah,
theaters in so long. I think my theaters
and
are
my
actually
daughter,
closed.
oh, really? She does not watch movies.
Huh.
We do not even watch TV in this house. She's just not interested in traditional cinematic content. She wants interactive content. So she does not watch movies at all. So the fact that she's like, yeah, we should go see this in the movie theater just shows me how much she's into Monster Hunter. And
Yeah.
she's going around the house now asking me for extra chores that she could do for more allowance because she wants to save money to buy a bunch of Monster Hunter shit when the game comes out.
When you said
She already came.
she's walking
she came
around
over
the
to-
house, I thought she'd be like walking around the house screaming the battle shout of the roar of seeing Basil Goose, just like.
So she came over to me the other day and she slapped down on the table 3,000 yen from that she had saved up, and she says they just announced that they're going to be reselling the Mizutsune plush dolls. They won't come out here until June, but they're going to do a reprint of them, of the plushies. She's like, buy it. I'm
Just
like,
like,
"Yes, ma'am."
I love how she just slams it. Buy this.
Here's the money. I want it. And right now she's trying to save money. She wants to get a plushie for Xenojiva because she likes the monster so much.
Xenojiva
There's like
is
these
pretty
little
cool in terms of looks, for sure.
Mm.
I actually wore his armor as layered very, very often because I like the little flowy stuff behind you. Makes you look very heroic.
Can I bitch off about something?
Sure.
This has been this bothers me extreme. And this is if I had a chance to redo my wish list, like this is one of them that's going to be added. The way they did layered armor, and there's a lot of people who disagree with me on Twitter on this one. The way they did layer armor, Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate versus how they did it in Iceborne. I hate how they did it in Iceborne. There's certain things about it that I understand are good. Like I like the idea that layered armor can be layered on anything, right? Like I guess it's more versatile once you do make it. What I'm talking about, what I hate, is you can't even make layered armor for most of the stuff until you're like MR 100.
Oh, okay. You don't like the unlocks? Because I was getting really confused. I'm like the world system is so much better after you unlock it. But
after you unlock it, the problem is like MG or GU. It's like just do some G rank quests. You can buy layered armor. Just buy the armor and you can make it layered. It's fine. Yeah, you lose it and it's not as versatile, but making it was not an issue. Where in Iceborne, she just wants to have the Xenojiva headpiece. She loves it. And she can't use it because the armor is shit. Because they never made a master rank Xenojiva. So she can't use that in master rank. So she's like, okay, well, there's layered armor. Yeah, it requires you to be like, you have to get your master rank to like 100. It requires the most crazy rare materials to make anything. Oh, well, you need a great spirit vein gem. Oh, you can't get that until you're MR 100. It's like, why is everything locked behind
vein gem grind?
Like the amount of people who got to MR 100 has to be in like a low percentage of people in the game, right? You would think.
I don't know.
Well, when you consider it's like 16 million copies sold, there's got to be like maybe 1 million.
I'd go no. I'd go like
look at the
30.
look at the achievement list sometime.
I'd go 30%.
You'd be shocked at how low the achievement percentage is for some of those scenes. Like got to the Gaijin lands, it's like super low.
I mean,
but anyways,
wait, you're looking at it on Xbox though.
No, look at the PS ones as well. Even though it's a little bit higher, it's not that good.
Okay.
But so every piece of armor, it takes more rare materials to make a layered armor than it does to make the actual armor. Why is that? That is so stupid in my opinion. Oh, this requires a freaking mantle for every single piece. Requires a mantle. But I can make the normal one, but I can't make the layered one.
Every single piece? No.
There's armor in there that every single one requires a mantle. Like the requirements for each piece of armor.
No, because the layered armor you crafted in a set. You just craft the full set. You don't.
No, the layered armor. It's all individual pieces.
No, you don't craft like a headpiece, unless it's.
Yes, you do.
No. What layered armor is crafted like that? I remember every time I unlock a. Every time I unlock a
Boot
set
up my
of
game right now.
every time you unlock a set, you unlock the whole set. You craft the whole set of layered armor. That's usually how it goes. I think you're confusing.
Okay, well, no. I mean, she's looked at this layered armor set constantly because she really wants to make it and she can't, and it's been really upsetting her.
She can because it requires rare materials, yes, but it doesn't require like 5 mantles for an armor set. It requires probably one, or I don't even think it usually requires more than one. It's like one mantle and like something from the Guiding Lands probably. But it's the full set that you're crafting.
And I'm going to go look at the high rank Xenojiva set, which is what she wants.
Yeah.
Layered armor. High rank. Where is it? Xenojiva, where are you?
Was Xenojiva even available? Yeah, it is available in the high rank version. Sure. And there's also the Arch Tempered version as well. Did you even unlock it?
Valhazak stuff.
Did you unlock it?
The Arch Tempered, we gotta beat the armored one for. Oh, sorry, I gotta go to master rank for this.
Do you? No, it's in.
This is crazy. Look at this one. Alatrion. If you want to make the layered armor, the headpiece requires 2 research tickets, 1 Dragon's Fire mantle, 5 Elder Spirit Vein bones, and a Great Spirit Vein gem, and that is the same requirement for every single one.
Yeah, because
because
when you unlock one, you unlock the whole set. You're unlocking the whole set, not just the individual piece.
So why the hell? What? Why do they list them all individually if you tap on them?
I don't know. I've never even looked at them individually. You craft the whole set.
Yeah. Every single piece individually has the list of required materials, and they're all.
Yeah,
well, that explains one frustration I have.
Because if you want to have one piece, you're going to have to craft the whole set. You can't craft individual pieces.
Okay, well, you know what? Thank you for solving, because the UI was confusing. It does not. You do not understand.
Because like the thing
that
is,
makes a lot more sense.
Instead of you selecting like one individual piece, just tap left one more time and you select them all, and that it'll show you the same thing. And there you go.
What? Wow.
Yeah, it's I was like, dude, there's no way, because like the GUs, the
well, this changes my perspective quite a bit, because I thought and she thought, because you select them all individually, right? By default, your cursor is not to the left, so it looks like every piece requires a mantle, and she's like, what the hell?
I just don't know when I started doing this, but pretty much whenever I go to layered armor, I always tab left instantly. So I don't even think about individual pieces, because I know that I'm always crafting the whole thing.
Wow. Well, that changes.
It's not that hard to craft it. The thing that you do have a point on is what it takes to unlock it. Unlocking it is a problem.
Yeah.
Like whereas in GU, it's like from the moment that you unlock the ability to do it, it's like if you can craft it, you can layer it. That's it. And I think
I'm looking at like Zora Magdaros requires us to be. She needs to get to a level 5 Guiding Lands, which is more than MR 50, in order to make that, which is kind of sucks.
Yep.
But you know what? The fact that it takes such less materials, maybe that's why everybody on Twitter is going, "What are you smoking, dude? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was.
You want to know what was my most proud achievement? Layered armor.
Which one?
And this was before I got into Final Fantasy 14. It was still my most proud achievement. It was the Dragoon armor, which is the Drachen set.
Oh.
Because you had to kill Extreme Behemoth, and that thing is potentially the hardest thing I've ever had to do in Monster Hunter World. Like people complain about the difficulty of Fatalis. Go fight Extreme Behemoth without master rank gear. Good luck. Dude, and I've seen players do it with wide shelling gunlands, and I'm just thinking to myself, good God, I wish I was that good. Like you're talking about players that are planning out their Wyvern's Fire in a way where the monster is doing its ultimate kill everyone attack, and they do a Wyvern Fire in a way where they not only hit the monster with the Wyvern Fire, but the recoil takes them to the safe zone behind a rock. And I'm just like, what is this? Like, what the hell is going on? This is some next level stuff. I don't remember if it was Ryu
Well,
or not. It might have been Ryu, and Ryu is just a god tier player with the gun lance. It's insane.
well, now that I have you on this subject really quick, I'm going to ask you because this solves a lot of my gripes. It does not solve the fact that it's hard to unlock, but it certainly solves the fact that I thought that it required a crap ton more materials than
Yeah.
it takes to craft the actual thing, which is not the case. That's good to hear. How do you unlock all the is there, like, weird triggers to unlock them all? Because 'Cause I'm, like, looking at my list, and she's always been showing me the, Xeno'jiva set, but I don't even have it in my game. It's not even listed in layered armor.
I don't know how you unlock them actually. I have no idea. I because the way that we were playing the game back then, like we're always on the cutting edge, right? So we're always just like grinding
Yeah,
everything. So the only thing that
we don't
would
know.
keep us back from unlocking stuff would be the fact that it wasn't even in the game. So by the time they implemented it
Yeah.
in the game, everything would be instantly unlocked. So I don't actually know the
Well,
requirements. I would imagine
I'm looking
it's
forward to
master
telling you
rank.
this.
It's either master rank or hunter rank. I don't know.
It's
But
so
yeah.
weird. Yeah, she's had it in her list, but I don't have it in mine, but she's gonna be very happy when I tell her, "Thank you for." I'm happy. See, I'm happy I complained. So
There you
you
go.
helped fix my, my misunderstanding of it.
Yeah. It's like I remember.
Thank you.
Listen, in Monster Hunter World, I remember that one of the complaints that people had was that they didn't even know how to do multiplayer. So I actually made a video explaining people how to go to the Gathering Hub to meet up with their friends. And it's like I can understand. I mean, if they've never played a Monster Hunter game, you can't expect people to just know that. You mean I have to go? I mean, my friend joined my game. I can't see him. I can't join him. How does this work? Right? I go on an expedition. My friend's not with me, and I was just like, yeah, expeditions are different, and but yeah, it's it's
Thank you.
amazing.
See, I almost had a bad take there.
See, there you go. We fixed it. But anyway, I think we're going to be calling it here. That was go ahead.
If I can, I would love to add one final thing, only because it's been a subject that I
Oh right,
brought up.
I skipped
I
that
brought it
because
up
of the
on-
because of the flow that we're going with the podcast. I skipped that for other things, and I just completely forgot about it. Go for it.
Can I add it in?
Yeah.
I just want to get a little clarification out there because there's no bad blood. But I made a few tweets in the last week concerning my distaste for bad takes being shared and laughed at, and in general, just so I mean, I assume all of you know about this, but I guess this is pretty common in most games. But there's a lot of pretty stupid comments out there, whether they're either trolling people or they're just being, it's hyperbole and they're just saying, like, this is crap, this is horrible, and there's just a lot of what people would consider a bad take. And I think one of the ways that the community is trying to not be affected by the negativity is to laugh at it and make fun of it. So there's this, I don't say a movement, but there is a tendency for a lot of different people to take a screenshot or a tweet from someone who has a take or opinion that they think is ludicrous, and they'll tweet it out and say, like, look at this horrible bad take, ha ha ha. And I have personal beef with this. I don't like this concept of bullying the bully. I don't think it helps at all. I find it looks toxic from the outside in. I just don't like it. And so I made some comments about, why can, instead of like, because sometimes in the bad takes you get in some people who legit could have used help, and now you're just like pointing and laughing at them. It just feels wrong to me, right? It's don't fight negative with negative is kind of where I'm coming at here, but
Yeah.
people, I think, took it as me taking a direct hit at the Monster Hunter Bad Takes Twitter account, which I wasn't, because it's much more than one Twitter account. It's like
Yeah.
many people talk about bad takes. It's a thing. And so I wanted to clarify that my dissatisfaction with the whole thing is the concept of bad takes. It's not a specific person or account. So I think I've gotten that clear with a lot of different people, but it's something that's always bothered me. It might be my age. I don't know. Maybe I'm becoming like a boomer old man at this point, but I just feel like, if someone has a really shitty opinion or dumb opinion, or they're being just totally off the wall, screen cap and, like, at the worst, at least paraphrase, I would say to people, right? don't take a screenshot of somebody or try to. I might be guilty of this as well, and I'll try to keep it in mind. But like, try not to, retweet in a point that people are going to go after that person, say you're an idiot, and to get attacked. Because I don't think that's ever the point. I think the idea is to say, God, listen to this rhetoric. This is so stupid. And I don't know. Bad takes. I don't make it personal, guys. Like,
We
there's lots of
live
good stuff to talk about. Why are we worrying about the negative?
we live in very strange times, and unfortunately, like highlighting stuff like that, there's just going to be some people that are going to go after and chase after the comment itself, and so that they can go and say something nasty to that person, which kind of sucks.
Mm,
Because I think that there is some entertainment value. Like I've done videos like that. To give you an idea, there was this guy who wrote like a Reddit post, and this actually showed up on the Bad Monster Hunter Takes account. And this guy just wrote like a massive Reddit post about how Monster Hunter World should have a season pass, and a bunch of other things. And basically, I just made a video about it, and I just read everything, and then basically I said, "Here's why I disagree on this, and here's why this is completely ridiculous. Here's why this wouldn't work." But here's the thing, and this is actually a problem with, and this is not just related to Monster Hunter. This is more of a problem that I would say is in not even just gaming communities, but like in online communities as a whole. And the
mm,
problem is that people like to engage in negative content. So it's not my
that's true.
favorite type of content to do, not by a long shot. I have done it plenty of times. Like there was also a review where they were saying that Monster Hunter was glorified colonialism or something like that, and how there's no, the poor little monsters are limping away and whatnot, and we the hunters are so evil, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've also made a video making fun of that because I just,
Yeah. Well,
and and the thing
I
is,
don't want to stop you, but I will say this. I'll add in later, but I
yeah,
think there's a difference.
the
Yeah.
the thing is, the problem with this is that, again, online communities as a whole, they like engaging in that content. Like they like seeing that. They like seeing the bad take because they have either they have a better understanding of whatever the other person is talking about, and they enjoy
Yeah.
seeing what the other person is saying so that they can go back and say, no, 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 this is wrong because of this. And this then gets rewarded in the form of likes, views, impressions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is, everything that we get in online communities nowadays in terms of feedback. So there's an extremely positive feedback loop to
Yeah.
negative forms of content. I mean, you just see whenever there's a YouTube drama, like people flock to it. Like everybody hears
Oh
about
yeah.
the whatever latest drama there's been with
Well,
the
it's true.
biggest
Yeah. If you
YouTubers
if
or
you made
Twitch
two
streamers
videos and
or whatever.
this is
And
awesome, this sucks,
yeah, exactly. This sucks one is going to get more views and more engagement.
more views.
So,
Yeah.
so it's like ultimately the negative feedback loop or the positive feedback loop is something that is reinforced, and it's just something that's always going to happen. I don't engage with that type of content that much, but every now and then I do like doing, just getting a couple of rants out there.
Like I think to me though there's like a small difference. Like if you're talking about like taking a professional critique,
Yeah,
like an actual review or an opinion piece that's written, that is totally up for scrutiny, and that is certainly up for debate because it's an opinion piece that's being put out there as, okay, this is something to think about or discuss. So I think that's fine. I think it's when someone is just you're capturing someone's Facebook group comment or Discord comment, and you're going, look at this idiot. Like that's when it starts to feel like it's a personal attack. When someone self-publishes for the world to see and says, look, I think this is a major problem. Listen to me. And then they put it out there. I think we can critique it to shit. Like we can go crazy on it. Like Amazon reviews or something. I don't know. Like, or even Reddit posts, maybe if it's the OP. But if you just have someone on the internet who's clearly either frustrated at something, doesn't understand something, has an opinion that's just kind of weird, like just screen capping them and going, look at this idiot or look at this fool, that feels a little different to me. And that's what I think there's a gray line. It's really hard to decide, are we laughing at the notion or are we laughing at the person, that's where I think people need to be careful. Is I think laughing at notions is certainly enjoyable to a certain extent. I can understand that. I don't know. I'm an old man, guys. I had it on my. It's been building up. It's just been bothering me for months, and I wanted to say something. So I said something online, and then people took it as me attacking some specific accounts or people. And I'm like, oh my god, I should not have opened my mouth. I should just shut up.
But
So
the good thing is
uh,
that there's now a good Monster Hunter Takes account. I saw that one. Someone made a good Monster Hunter Takes account. I've seen it.
I'm gonna have to go check that out.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you for letting me get that off my chest. I just wanted to share that in case people are wondering, because some people are like, "Hey, wait, what's the drama?" And there's no drama. It was just me talking about my not liking that culture, and that's all. So it is what it is.
Ultimately, guys, as what most people should keep in mind, or what everyone should keep in mind, is that what me and Gaijin want at the end of the day is for everyone to have fun. That's pretty much it. Just have fun. It's like that's all we really care about. But we're gonna call it there. If you guys enjoyed the podcast, as per usual, make sure to hit the like button. Helps out a lot. This podcast is also available in audio format, anchor.fm/Third Fleet. There's going to be links in the description below. Also to the video that we talked about at the start from Blunty. There's going to be links in there as well. Links to our Discords as well if you guys want to join the community and hang out. Those are always a good place for you to try to find someone, like maybe you're trying to do something hard like a Fatalis or an Alatreon. You're really struggling. My Discord, Gaijin's Discord, there's probably going to be people there that can help you with that. So go ahead, try that out. And links to my channel and Gaijin's channel. Well, not links to my channel. That would make a lot of sense. Links to Gaijin's channel.
You're watching this on your channel.
Links to Gaijin's channel in the comment section below. And that is going to be it. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Take it easy, guys. Happy hunting.